Dim the lights. Breathe in for 4, out for 6. If you're listening from anywhere in the world, drop your city and your local time below. We love seeing where the sleepy history squad drifts in from. Tonight, we step into a parlor where the wallpaper curls a little at the seams and the piano smells faintly of lemon oil. Your boots are polished. Your future is, too. You're 16, and the world says you're on the usual track. Learn the steps. Smile at the right moments. Marry a suitable man. The story is as old as the tea set. Then the numbers arrive, not as thunder, but as columns in a newspaper. Casual tallies from a war that felt like watercolor. Names and numbers from faraway fields and cold hospital ships. You read the word. Casualties, as if it meant careless. You'll learn what it truly means by the time you're 20. The bugles go quiet. The rooms do, too. You don't understand the arithmetic yet. Not fully. You feel it first, as absence, as a missing chair at Ellen's engagement supper, as your piano teacher's sudden black dress, as a timid hush at the winter assembly when the band starts a reel and fewer partners step forward. You're told to be patient. You are. Patience hardens into something else all on its own. By the time the peace toasts are poured, a different kind of reckoning trickles in. The census? It doesn't scold or weep. It counts. And what it counts is unnerving hundreds of thousands more women than men in Britain, most of them of marriageable age, a phrase that sounds like a price tag. You don't need the exact figure to feel its edge. You feel it when invitations arrive with fewer names. You feel it when a mother at a tea table tightens her jaw just so, then smiles as though nothing has slipped. You keep going to dances because hope wears satin slippers. The men who come are older, some with polished canes and faraway eyes. You dance anyway, toes pinched, cheeks warm, prayers quiet. Your smile becomes a kind of beautiful superstition. Perhaps this time the arithmetic will forget you. It doesn't. Arithmetic rarely forgets anyone. Arithmetic keeps its own kind of time. At church, they call women like you by tender names, devoted daughters, comforts to their mothers, blessings at home. In the grocer's line, the word is harsher, surplus, as if you were corn stacked too high after harvest, as if a person could be left over. You hear it once, then again, then you hear it even when no one says it. Like a splinter of sound under the skin of the day, no one calls you abandoned. That would be cruel. You are unclaimed. The word is meant to be soft. It is not. It suggests that the natural state of a woman is to be held by someone else's hand. If the hand never comes, the fault must be in your fingers. You begin to notice what isn't said. Cousins chatter about babies and budgets. You refill cups, compliment the preserves, fold your yearning into neat, swallowable parts. A younger brother tells a guest, "We've kept Mary at home." Kept like a tea caddy, like a pair of gloves too fine for rain. The word finds a hook inside you and hangs there. The newspapers, helpful in their way, suggest remedies. There are schemes to send unmarried women across the world where men are plentiful and wives in demand. Opportunity, the headline says. Balance, the planners say, as if shipping warm bodies will correct a cold column of figures. You read the subtext that others politely ignore. Remove yourself. Don't clog the gears. Be useful elsewhere. At night you lie awake and stare at a ceiling that has learned all your size. You tell yourself the story could still bend. You are kind, you are clever, you are lovely in the mirror a few inches at a time. Surely that counts. But the arithmetic is stubborn. It is not measuring charm. It is measuring loss. When the first proposal does not come, you stay busy. When the second does not, you become excellent at staying busy. You teach the youngest cousins to read. You arrange flowers at church with a competence that would impress an admiral. You become the woman people trust with keys and lists and delicate things that must not be dropped. Usefulness is its own kind of affection in a house that has run out of scripts for you. There is tenderness in this life, too. The wisteria still spills over the same brick every spring. Your mother's spoon still taps the lip of the cream jug twice before the pour. On Tuesday afternoons, the sun still crawls across the parlor rug and warms the ankles of the chair you claim as yours. You gather these small reliables and set them like candles along a narrow hallway. They show you the way through then one evening at the lending library. You hear two women near the counter discuss Miss Finch. Never courted, nearly 40, not even a whisper. Poor thing, one says in a tone that chips the edge of the words. You feel the air thin. You know Miss Finch. She runs the reading circle, recites poetry by heart, and once stood in front of the town council and stopped a railway from cutting. A pond and half. Poor thing does not fit in any honest sentence with her name. You put your book back on the shelf without choosing it. You take the lesson instead. This is the lesson. The world likes its equations neat. Wife plus husband equals family. Widow plus black dress equals respect. Girl plus ring equals future. You plus no one equals a problem to be solved, or a pity to be managed. You are urged to accept this as natural law, as if the stars themselves were arranged by committees. On a quiet Thursday, when the house smells of starch and coal, your mother suggests a temporary position, teaching piano or serving as a companion to a delicate cousin. Just for a little while, just until something changes. You know the code. The temporary becomes the text. You press your gloves flat, pack a modest case, and step through a door you hadn't imagined before. The door of the working gentlewoman, visible, reliable, and still somehow invisible. You tell yourself it is not so bad. It isn't. There are worse fates than a clean room, than the clink of teaspoons, than the quiet pride of a ledger balanced to the penny. But you also feel it, the soft eraser working at the edges of your outline. At family dinners, you are greeted first for your health, not your opinions. At gatherings, you are praised for your steadiness, not your mind. Good becomes a synonym for harmless. Helpful becomes the polite word for out of the way. That is when you start writing names in a small notebook. Women you know who never married. Those who almost did. Those who chose silence. Those who were given it. You draw little threads between them. You sketch a map of windows where lamplight shows a solitary figure at a desk. If you all stood up at once, you think, would the island tilt? You close the notebook and open a different door in your mind. If the arithmetic can count you, perhaps you can count back. Settle your shoulders, unclench your jaw. If you're still awake, say hi in the comments with your city and local time. We're glad you're here. By 20, your dance card is a study in margins. The paper is still creamy. The ink still gleams. The names are fewer. The men who take your hand often do so with a wince the band tries not to see. There's a new etiquette in the room. Carry the cane as if it were a choice. Laugh as if the quiet were a joke told on purpose. The waltz goes on because it must. It is England. We excel at continuing. You master the art of cheerful steadiness. Your smile says, Of course, even when your stomach says, please. The mothers on the chairs along the wall watch you, tallying not just your steps, but your prospects, the way a housekeeper tallies spoons. You are measured in glances, the right tilt of the head, the agreeable laugh, the tightrope of not too clever and not too dull. And yet, under the soft scratch of the quartet, another sound hums: subtraction. You feel it in the length of the interval between songs, in the way partners are passed with thanks and gentle apologies, in the observation that the same three young men are asked too often. No one calls it what it is. You do, not out loud. In the small ledger you keep behind your ribs, you write a single word there fewer dot. At home, the vocabulary is kinder and therefore sharper. Your aunt says your eyes are a shame to waste. Your father's sigh when the post arrives without a card is disguised as a cough. A neighbor in the grocer's line mentions surplus women as if she were pointing out the weather. You flinch as though she slammed a door on your hand. She hasn't. She's just named the room you're standing in. You learn to find comfort where comfort lives now, in repetition. The morning clink of the sugar spoon, the Tuesday polish of boots, the exact way sunlight climbs the stairs between noon and 1. You stretch routines across the gap where surprise used to live. They hold, but routine is a poor substitute for being consulted. When your married cousins gather, the conversation curls around subjects you're not invited to touch. Wet nurses, servants who don't iron neckties properly, the moral weight of selecting a nursery color. You hover by the sideboard, you pour, you listen, you are thanked. The room keeps moving without you, even as you make it easier for it to move. At church, you are a reliable part of the scenery. You arrange the flowers. You rehearse the children. You are praised from the pulpit for your good works, with a tone usually reserved for well-behaved dogs. A parishioner once called you a pillar. You smiled. A pillar holds up what other people live in. Your younger brother marries a woman who paints everything floral, including the conversation. In his house, which was once yours, in the same automatic dream that said marriage would follow piano, you are given the spare room. The phrase is polite, precise, and devastating. It means narrow, back of house, slanted ceiling, your life on a hook behind the door. It means grateful, please, and not yours. Your sister-in-law is kind, and kindness can bruise as effectively as cruelty. You learn the choreography of being tolerated. Speak softly, be helpful, disappear at the right moments. Never contradict the mistress in front of guests. Once you reached for the teapot. She redirected your hand with a smile that smelled like lavender and possession. You smiled back like a good tenant of your own absence. If this sounds bleak, it is not the whole. You have humor, and humor is resistance. Wearing a bonnet, you laugh in kitchens where you are safe. You whisper with your friend Sarah on the walk back from evening service. You count how many times the vicar says duty in a sermon and bet a ribbon on the number. You are not a ghost. You are a woman refusing to rattle her chains for other people's comfort. In the papers, a debate blooms. The Times advises unmarried women to emigrate. Societies form with neat letterheads and large ideas. Export the surplus, balance the sexes abroad, improve the empire with tidy domestic minds. You stare at an advertisement for passage to Canada and feel your pulse quicken. Not with romance, with geometry. Perhaps the math is kinder elsewhere. Perhaps the odds are different beneath a colder sky. But you have learned to read subtext as fluently as scripture. This is not a love letter to your future. It is an invitation to remove yourself from someone else's embarrassment. It says, Take your capable hands and your quiet hunger and be useful very far away. You fold the advertisement and tuck it into your journal, not as a plan, as a proof that doors exist, even if opening them means leaving the hallway you've memorized. In the dark, work begins. Not a career, the word is too modern to be respectable, but work nonetheless. Teaching piano, supervising a reading circle, accompanying someone delicate who needs conversations carried like tea trays, steady and without spill. You find you are very good at this. People trust you with their lonely afternoons. You become a warm shadow. It is a profession with no title and many duties. You are paid in small coins and bigger assumptions. The assumptions are simple enough to catalogue. You do not want. You do not rebel. You do not insist. You are available. You are grateful. You will always be here when others are ready for you. It isn't true, of course, but if enough people act as if it is, the world rearranges itself around the lie until it feels like furniture. There is a different inventory you keep, the one a woman keeps for herself. The satisfaction of a child sounding out a hard word, the weight of a key you alone carry, the pride of a room tidied exactly as your mind prefers. Books squared, brush laid bristles down, curtain pulled to the inch, where street noise softens but light still spills. You are not passionless, you are precise. One evening, a neighbor with more feathers than delicacy suggests a widower in Bath. 3 children only, dear, not any trouble. You blink twice and practice a smile that can be framed and hung above any fireplace. In bed that night, you do not weep. You copy out a sentence from a pamphlet you found at the station. There are more ways to be a woman than one. You underline it twice. By now, you have learned the most powerful part of invisibility, witness. You move through rooms like furniture, and because no one angles their sentences at you, you catch more than you're meant to. You see the vicar's hand brush the widow's sleeve a heartbeat too long. You hear the maid tuck away candied peel and note the days she needs sugar more than tea. You watch a neighbor's cough return in a monthly rhythm that tells a story no one has asked her to tell. You become a living ledger of a village that doesn't know it is being counted by the quiet. It changes you, not into a scold, into a writer, not yet on paper. First in mind, you begin to compose sentences as you walk. You polish them against the inside of your teeth like smooth stones. Not all of them are kind. Most of them are true. Truth said softly is still truth. When people call you superfluous, you let the word pass, then you correct it without moving your lips. Not surplus, remaining. Not what was left behind, what endured. The distinction is not small. It is a path, soft. Hook, in part 3, we step over the threshold of the spare room and learn its rules and how women like you began to bend them without breaking the house. Set the mug down, loosen your shoulders, and let the room grow a little quieter. If you're listening with us tonight, drop your city and local time below. We love seeing the Sleepy History Squad glow on the map. The spare room isn't a sentence. It's a climate. It has its own weather drafts that sneak under the door at dawn. A sun that slides across the slanted ceiling and then decides you've had enough by mid-afternoon. It smells faintly of starch, mothballs, and old lavender, the kind that has forgotten the field it came from. Your bed complains politely when you sit. The wallpaper peels in tidy curls like paper shavings from a whittled stick. No one is unkind. To you here, that's not how erasure works. It happens softly, like dust. Spare sounds generous. as if the house has a little extra space, and you're its lucky beneficiary. But the word holds a second blade. Unnecessary. You learn to live between the two edges, grateful and not needed, without cutting yourself more than you have to. There are rules. No one wrote them down. Everyone follows them. Rule 1. Move like weather, not furniture. Arrive for tea, neither early you'll seem eager, nor late you'll be scolded as forgetful. You time your footsteps to the house's heartbeat, the clink of cups, the scrape of a chair, the thump of a child's heel on the stair. You descend when the kettle sighs and vanish when the conversation tilts toward topics you are not licensed to own. Nursery colors, servants' contracts, the neighbor's unfortunate wallpaper. Rule 2. Be useful without being central. Mend the sock before anyone notices the hole. Iron the napkin that will sit beneath a slice of cake you did not order. Remember where the good scissors live and produce them like a magician, then put them back as if they returned themselves. Your talents are admired most when they are invisible. Rule 3. Don't touch what isn't yours. This is the one that hurts. You learned it the day your hand reached for the teapot, a simple reflex from a lifetime of helping, and your sister-in-law's fingers redirected yours with a smile that was almost a curtsy. Not yours, the smile said. Later, you laughed about it in your head. Imagine a teapot needing a pedigree, but you still felt the bruise. You become expert at carrying your life in miniature. Your books fit on half a shelf between a porcelain shepherdess and a seashell someone's uncle swore came from Naples. Your sewing kit slides beneath the bed in a hat box that used to hold a dream. Your letters live in a ribbon stack under the mattress, because a locked drawer would announce that you have secrets, and secrets are a privilege of owners. Sometimes, you think of the house as a theater, and yourself as a stagehand in black. You appear, adjust, smooth, and go. The actors bow, the audience claps. You coil the ropes, but there is an economy here you can claim, the economy of small sovereignties. You arrange your bedside table exactly as you like, pencil laid parallel to the journal's spine, matches aligned, cup turned upside down so the dust keeps out. You know precisely how far to tug the curtain so the tram noise loses its edge, but the light still finds your page. You become a scientist of your own comfort, taking measurements no one else believes exist. Outside the door, you learn the choreography of being kept. Your brother, good man that he is, introduces you to a guest as Our Mary, still at home. The words fall into the room like a folded shawl, soft, unthreatening, and heavy. Still at home means safe, dependable, useful. It also means paused, unfinished, pending. You smile because the conversation requires a smile, and because anger here would be filed under hysterical in someone's mental ledger. Later, alone, you write the phrase in your notebook and draw a line through still. Home, you decide, is not where you are kept. It's where you get to keep. There are humiliations, not dramatic ones, no slammed doors, no pointed fingers, just the steady abrasion of being the one no one expects to consult. In the parlor, a discussion blooms about where to hang a new engraving. You have an opinion about the light and the symmetry with the mantle. You swallow it. The frame goes up crooked. Guests praise it anyway. You press your lips together and decide the engraving will not outlast the century. Your restraint might, and yet you are not meek. You practice tiny rebellions the way some women practice scales. You move a chair 3 inches to greet the afternoon sun and leave it there. You keep the better pen, the one that glides, in a cup no one else reaches for. You take the long way home from the market, past the lending library, where you let yourself stand too long at the window, feasting on spines and the warm hush of paper. You buy a lemon you don't strictly need, just to watch it glow on your sill. These are not purchases. They are declarations. I am here. At dinner, the conversation makes its circuit. Someone repeats a familiar platitude about surplus women. How sad, how silly, how society must do something. You feel the splinter again. You breathe round it. Surplus doesn't mean worthless. You say lightly, letting the sentence tiptoe out as if it were about the price of coal. It means remaining. The room tilts in the quiet that follows. No one argues. No one agrees. The subject changes itself like a chaperone who heard a laugh she didn't understand. You've placed a word and left it to bloom on its own. Your usefulness becomes a performance so practiced you can't always tell when the curtain falls. You are the person to whom people bring their fraying edges. You darn them socks, tempers, plans, with a precision you honed in the long afternoons of your 20s. You remember birthdays other people forget and arrange flowers with a symmetry that makes the church look as if it were thinking clearly for once. When the maid drops a plate, you were the first to say, "It's only china, and the only one." To mean it, you were accused of being good, as if goodness were a small room anyone could breathe in forever. On a Tuesday you overhear your name from the parlor below. You weren't listening. The floorboards were. "She's a dependent," someone says with a sigh softened for politeness. The word floats up like steam and sits with you on the bed. You look at it for a long time. Then you do what numbers taught you. You refute it with counting. You list the children you taught to read, the parish accounts you balanced the shilling, the hands you steadied, the letters you drafted for other people's courage and signed with their names. Dependent is what the house owes the roof. What you do is closer to a beam. Evenings teach you to be a precise ghost. When the parlor fills, you choose a chair with a view of the door and the looking glass, a trick you learned from novels, and watch the room speak around you. You are not an eavesdropper, you are an archivist. The vicar's laugh has a new sharpness since the railway board scolded him. The neighbor's cough returns every 28 days like a stern moon. Your sister-in-law's voice rises a half-tone when she is trying not to contradict your brother. These are not gossip. These are the minutes of a meeting no one knows is being kept. Your journal becomes your parliament. Each night, you vote to remember. You write down the little kindnesses that keep an empire from squeaking apart. The biscuits someone left at your door when your mother's anniversary came around. The way the laundress refolded a shirt to hide a worn collar. The child who handed you a grubby violet and didn't look away until you smelled it. You sign each entry not with your name, but with your temperature. Warmer today, cooler today, steady today. It's a system that would puzzle any accountant and comfort any widow. There are days you want to shout, not at people, at architecture, at the corridor that narrows right where you always meet someone coming the other way, at the mantle that displays other people's triumphs, at the little oval mirror that keeps offering your face as if it were a riddle you once knew the answer to. You practice speeches in your head about choice, about arithmetic, about how a woman can be both grateful and not forlorn. You do not deliver them. You are saving your voice for places where it will land and not just echo. On Sundays, the pews look like finished puzzles. You sit where you always sit and feel like a spare piece set gently on the windowsill. After service, the vicar's wife praises your flower rota, such a blessing, and asks after your health. Not your mind, not your work, not your joy, your health. The implication is kind and confining. Please remain well so we can go on. Not thinking about why you are always available. That afternoon, you open a fresh notebook and begin a different kind of census. You write the names of every unmarried woman you know, cousins, school friends, the quiet woman who sells ribbons, the formidable Miss Finch, the seamstress who keeps her hair in 2 battlefield braids, the widow who never remarried and refuses the word widow as if it were a damp cloak. You add what you know, ages, addresses, rumored talents, confirmed kindnesses. You draw a map in your mind of windows where a single lamp burns past 10. You are not lonely. You are networked, sometimes on the walk to the market. You pass houses where you've never been invited in, and imagine the spare rooms inside. Narrow, careful, tidy, the way sorrow sometimes is. You picture the women who sleep there and see not grey but colour. One keeps a canary. One collects postcards of ships she will never sail. One writes poems on the backs of recipes. You don't know if any of this is true. You choose to believe it until proven otherwise. That, too, is a kind of resistance. Your sister writes from 3 counties over to say there's a widower in Bath with a decent income and only 3 children. You fold the letter neatly and set it under your lemon. It stays there like a paperweight on a future you are finished pretending to want. You are not opposed to marriage. You are opposed to being a solution. In time, you begin to adjust your posture in the spare room, not your back, your expectations. You stop waiting to be asked and start inventing permission slips with your own signature. You volunteer at the school 3 mornings a week without seeking approval from anyone's schedule but your own. You take on the parish accounts because numbers make sense when people don't. You start a reading circle on Thursday evenings and choose books that sneak questions into rooms that don't like questions. And then, almost imperceptibly, the room changes, not in the plaster, in the pronouns. Someone says, Mary's class, not the class Mary helps with. Someone asks what you think about the new council rule, not if you'll pass the salt. Someone brings you violets because someone else told her you like violets. You put them in a chipped glass and set them where the sun decides who it loves. The spare room does not expand. Your life inside it does. You carve a little groove of routine that belongs to no one else. A walk at dusk past the train station, not because you're leaving, but because you like the sound of leaving. On the bench, you sometimes find a leaflet left behind by a woman. In a hurry, respectable lodgings for ladies, and you trace the letters with your fingertip. You are not quite ready for a house of women, but the phrase tilts the horizon a few degrees. That night, you write a single line at the bottom of your page. A room is spare only until it is shared. You set down your pen and listen to the house. Sleep pipes settling, embers sighing, the last spoon in the scullery coming to rest. You are not an extra. You are the remainder that proves the soft hook. Next time. The door opens on a different kind of address. A boarding house stitched together by routines, biscuits, and women who refuse to vanish. A house of women. Rain needles the pavement in neat little lines, and you stand with your case under a sky the color of pewter, reading the brass plaque for the 3rd time, as if it might change its mind. Respectable lodgings for ladies. Respectable, that corset of a word. It promises safety and squeezes you all the same. You knock. The door opens on the kind of hallway that smells like boiled cabbage in winter and furniture polish in every season. A thin woman with powdered cheeks and eyes like ledger lines looks you up and down, approves your boots, and says, "Top floor." End of the hall. Meals at 8 and 6. Shared privy. No gentlemen callers. She vanishes down the corridor before you can thank her. That is Miss Tremaine, brisk, fair, and allergic to dithering. Your room is small enough to measure with your forearms. The ceiling slopes as if the house is bowing to you. An iron bed sits under a window that refuses to close all the way and whistles when the wind turns. The wallpaper is floral in the way of old wallpaper, which is to say the flowers are tired of being looked at. There is a wash basin with a chip shaped like the crescent moon and a hook behind the door. That will keep its promises if you don't hang too much hope on it. You set your case on the trunk and touch the windowsill with your fingertips. It is rough, painted many times, each coat a small decision to carry on. The feeling that rises is not joy and not sorrow. It is something steadier, the complicated relief of a place that is yours because you pay for it, however thin the envelope that holds your coins. If you're awake with us right now, breathe deep and let the rain sound like a lullaby against a city you don't need to control. And tell us, if you want, your city and local time. It's oddly comforting to see where we all are. Downstairs. Dinner is a long table with mismatched cutlery, a clock that runs 5 minutes fast, and a conversation that starts in the weather and ends in subtext. The women introduce themselves in the manner of cautious new neighbors, enough to be polite, not enough to give away the map. Miss Potter ran a music shop once. She hums when she stirs her tea and pretends not to. Miss Price writes letters every Thursday at 3, always in the same lilac shawl, always with the same calm expression that looks like faith and is actually practice. Miss Hanley smells faintly of lavender and gin, speaks rarely, and when she does, she aims for the heart and almost never misses. No one asks why you're here. Boarding houses have their own privacy laws, older than Parliament and tougher to break. But there is a language of gestures you start learning on the first night. A biscuit left at your door after you cough means I heard and I care. A kettle left full at 5 to 3 means Miss Price's hour is sacred. A door left just noticeably ajar means I'm lonely, if you have it in you to sit and say nothing for a while. The house has rules on paper and rules in air. The paper ones are simple. Pay on Fridays, no late callers, no candles left untended. The air rules take longer to learn. Do not ask about tears unless the person is still crying. Do not save people from silence they chose. Knock softly and twice, never thrice. Thrice is a summons, and there are very few emergencies here that require one. If a person leaves a book on the dining table face down, it is a request to keep their place in the story and in the world. Honor both. You find your rhythm quickly because rhythm is one of your talents. Mornings you teach, afternoons you bring. Back bread, apples when there are apples, coal when there is coin. Evenings belong to the parlor, a fire that burns just well enough to pretend it is generous, a piano that goes slightly flat in damp weather. Chairs arranged as if the room remembered last night's conversation and wants to pick it up again. At first, the talk is small. Weather, prices. The vicar's sermon in the way people discuss sermons when they liked the hymns better. But beneath the small talk are small earthquakes. A job lost, a letter not answered, a sister who married poorly, a brother who married well and forgot. These are not confessions. They are facts laid carefully on the table like delicate porcelain. No one handles them roughly. That is another rule. On your third night, Miss Tremaine wraps a spoon to the table and announces the rent will go up by a shilling come Michaelmas. No one gasps. This is England, we absorb, but eyes flicker. You all. Consider which comforts are coins in disguise. Coal, meat, milk. Miss Potter says she can get day-old rolls from a baker if the house promises not to mind the crusts. Miss Price suggests a bake sale at the chapel, the profits to a roof fund. You suggest you could write a small notice for the newspaper, something cheerful enough to pass the censor of disdain. Miss Hanley says, I'll watch the oven and the door. I trust no one else with either. The matter is settled in the way of boarding houses, indirectly, thoroughly. Winter comes in on a cough. It begins with Miss Potter, who laughs it off, until the laugh turns into a wheeze. Then Miss Tremaine, then you. The house adopts a rota without being told. Cool cloths appear, kettles multiply. Someone produces honey from a jar with a string for a handle. One evening, when the cough is a chorus and the fire is losing its argument with the damp, you say into your teacup, we should have a motto. Miss Hanley, eyes closed, says, we persist, as if she's reading it from somewhere above the ceiling. The room murmurs approval, and the cough, offended, retreats for a beat. It is not glamorous, this life. It is stubborn and stitched with kindness so small you'd miss it if you weren't paying attention. You learn the exact creak of the third stair and how to place your foot to skip it. You learn who prefers their tea strong enough to stand a spoon in and who waters theirs like a garden. You learn that some women are braver in the afternoon and some only after dark. You learn that a house full of women who were never chosen still chooses each other, over and over, in ways that never make the paper and change everything anyway. Once, at the market, you hear two shop girls whisper about your house. That's where the old maids live, one says, not cruelly so much as lazily. You turn before you can stop yourself. It's where we sleep, you say. We live all over town. The girls blush and giggle and pretend they didn't hear. You walk home with a small, inappropriate smile, because it is sometimes a relief to be the kind of woman who has stopped earning her adjectives from strangers. On Thursdays at 8, after Miss Price posts her letter, the parlour gathers for reading. Aloud, sometimes it's sermons you improve with the tone of your voice. Sometimes it's the newspaper you strip of its pomp with a raised eyebrow. Often it's a novel in installments, the kind with chapters that end on a breath held a second. Too long, Miss Potter does the voices. Miss Hanley provides editorial remarks. No one has ever fainted that attractively. He will certainly do something stupid in chapter 12. You listen, you laugh, and almost against your will, you heal there are private storms. Edith arrives one night, tight-lipped and red-eyed, a suitcase scuffed past mercy. She is younger than most and brittle in the way of fresh glass. For a week, she doesn't speak except to ask for hot water. Then one morning, there is a ribbon at her door, pink and satiny and out of fashion. She wears it to breakfast like a medal. I suppose I am not dead, she says, and the table nods solemnly as if a doctor had delivered the news. You keep noticing how the house makes room for grief without feeding it. There is no wallowing, but there is a chair by the window for people who need to look like they are staring at something while they are really staring at nothing. There is a stack of mending in a basket for hands that must move while hearts stand still. There is always a pot to watch. Watching a pot is a respectable way to cry. Miss Tremaine says she doesn't read novels, which is a lie, but she tells the truth about money. When someone falls behind, there is a conversation over the ledger with doors open and voices low. No one is shamed. Everyone is reminded that the rules are not cruel, they are scaffolding. We keep each other up, she says once, almost to herself. And you think that if she were a different sort of woman, she would have been a general. Spring peels winter off the windows like old labels. On the first day, it feels warm enough. To open the sash without an argument, you put a lemon on the sill. It glows. Miss Price notices and brings you a sprig of mint for the basin. Miss Potter offers a bar of soap, she says, smells like a memory. Miss Hanley takes in the tableau and says, fine, we are a painting now, you don't mind. It feels accurate. On Sundays, you and two others walk to church together. The way geese fly, one slightly ahead, two in a tidy line behind, taking turns with the wind. In the pew, you sit where the light lands. People notice. Of course they do. The noticing is softer now than it used to be. Some have learned that pity is not a compliment. Some have not. The sermon makes the usual turns. Afterwards, in the courtyard, a married woman squeezes your hand and says, "It's good to see you together." You say, "It is," and leave it at that. There are sentences that do not owe explanation. You start keeping a different list in your journal. Not only names, but particularities. Miss Potter laughs like a violin warming up. Miss Price folds letters so precisely it seems they might stand. Without string, Miss Hanley believes in God on Tuesdays and refuses him on Fridays in the exact same chair. Edith collects words she likes and practices them in the mirror. Resolute, venture, sovereign. You add your own entry without apology. You prefer your tea with a squeeze of lemon and a line you underlined before. You were brave enough to write your own. Some nights you lie awake and count the economies that make this place possible. Rent, paid on time by women who give up meat without telling anyone. Coal scrounged and stored. Mending done in exchange for an extra ladle. Friendship that costs nothing and returns interest anyway. It occurs to you that there are empires and there are empires. And you might be living in one that will not have a map but will have a lineage. The house gives you something to spare. Room never could. A way to be necessary without disappearing. You are not the extra guest at a table set for other people's story. You are a place setting with your own napkin. You wash your cup. You find it again the next day where you left. It that shouldn't feel like triumph. It does. On a damp afternoon, you spread out your school papers on the parlor table to mark sums and spelling. Without being asked, 3 women pull up chairs. One checks columns, one dots I's, one sharpens pencils with a penknife that must have once belonged to a man who thought it would only sharpen his future. The work goes fast because it is shared, and when you straighten the stack, Miss Tremaine appears with a plate of shortbread and calls you ladies in a tone that sounds suspiciously like pride. By summer, the boarding house has a smell that belongs to it. Soap, tea, old wood, and the faintest breath of ink. Visitors wriggle under its gaze and tidy their language. People speak more carefully around a room that listens. You didn't intend to become a place that changes people. You merely intended to live. Sometimes that is the same thing. On a Thursday, you arrive later than usual to find the parlor full and the piano lid open. Miss Potter places a page in your hands. It is your own writing, copied neatly and titled in a hand not yours. We persist. You look up and the room looks back, amused and pleased, as if they had smuggled a birthday past you. Read it, someone says. You do. Your voice shakes less than you expect. When you finish, Miss Hanley nods once, a general after a drill, sufficient. You laugh, and the sound is not borrowed. When the evening ends, you climb the stairs past the third step creak and sit on your narrow bed. The window whistles. You don't mind. You write a single line before sleep. A house of women is not a waiting room. It is an address. Then you blow out the lamp and let the dark hold you without. Commentary. Morning light rolls across the parlor carpet like a soft tide. The house wakes in careful stages, coal stirred, kettle set. Curtains opened just halfway so the neighbors see neatness, but not nerves. You move through the rooms on quiet feet. The way you were taught, making small good things happen without anyone needing to ask. This is the lesson of a respectable home. The smoother the surface, the less the strain shows. Your mother watches you with love that has learned to hide inside. Chores. She says your name the way a violin says, a note held, tuned, a little tender. She never speaks of clocks anymore, not directly, but you hear them in her instructions. If you wouldn't mind putting the best cups out, means the vicar's wife might come. We should visit Aunt. This week means the invitations are thinning. She knows what you know. The world prefers stories it already understands. A daughter who marries and moves away. A daughter who marries and stays nearby. There is no famous script for the daughter who simply remains. Society won't call you abandoned. It's too well-mannered for that. You are called helpful, useful, good for your mother, good with children, a blessing to the parish. The words are like lace, pretty, intricate, and meant to cover something. They are gentle ways to say not chosen. You accept the compliments because refusing them would make the room colder. You place them somewhere private and label the shelf. Not my fault. Afternoons bring callers. Hats balance like soft arguments. The vicar's wife settles into the armchair that knows her shape and praises your steadiness. Such a comfort to your dear mother. You pour tea perfectly, a talent that makes you both seen and overlooked. When you speak, the room quiets, not to listen, but to be polite. You've learned the difference. Politeness pauses for you. Attention turns toward you. They are not the same. Your father counts letters the way other men count coins. He never says he is waiting for a card with a gentleman's hand, but the moment the post lands, you can feel the air lean. When it is only a bill, only a circular, only another notice about the harvest fair, he nods, as if that is what he expected. You love him for not making you carry his disappointment. You forgive him for not knowing you sense it anyway. And then there is the word you hear more often now, in hallways and shops, kept a harmless syllable on the surface, an inventory tag underneath. We've kept Mary at home. We've kept her comfortable, as if your life were a chest of drawers moved from room to room as needed, as if staying was storage. You do not argue with the people who say it. You argue with the word in your journal later and win. Cousins take turns offering solutions packaged as favors. A widower in Bath with decent means. A position as companion to an aunt who likes a quiet presence. A small post at the school, only for now, dear. Each suggestion assumes your life is an empty room waiting for furniture. You do not shout, though sometimes the words press against your ribs like a bird at a window. Instead, you ask the question they forget. Will I belong there, or only behave there? At church, you have become a shape the pew remembers. You help with flowers because flowers neither judge nor inquire. You guide small hands through catechism and smile when mothers say you're such a good influence. The phrase, stretched thin, with its own caution. Good, here, often means harmless. You are not offended, you simply know better. Harmless is how power looks when it has learned. Discretion, your brother's house proves the rule that kindness and pressure can wear the same face. He is fond of you in the broad-shouldered way brothers are, grateful for mended socks and patient bedtime stories for sticky children. His wife is courteous, careful, and always 1 ounce tense when you reach for the teapot. A household is a map. Every object declares a border. You learn to ask with your eyes before you touch what is not yours. It is a strange skill, impossible to list on any resume, yet somehow central to your days, the art of existing without rearranging anyone's furniture. You sleep in the spare room, which sounds generous until you learn the spare room is where a life goes when there is no category for it. The ceiling leans, the wallpaper peels in the corners. The window faces a brick wall that tells you the weather and nothing else. You arrange your few books, keep your gloves flat under a dictionary, and realize that dignity can be folded carefully into small spaces. You make the bed the way nurses do in illustrations, neat enough to convince yourself you chose this. Visitors joke that you must be free as a bird. No husband to consult, no children to wake you early. Their laughter expects yours to follow. You smile, because that is what good women do when lines are handed to them like props. Later, alone, you write a truer sentence. Freedom without a door is just a larger room. Aunties bring strategy disguised as comfort. Don't be too clever in company, dear. It startles prospects. Mention your embroidery, not your reading. Wear the blue, it makes you look softer. These are not unkind women. They survived rooms that were more rigid than yours and learnt their tricks the hard way. You take what is useful and let the rest sink to the quiet bottom of your mind. Some evenings you practice your own small rebellions, not loud, not dangerous, just yours. You let your hair down before you pin it back. You walk an extra street after the grocer, simply because the sky is good. You read the editorial page without permission and answer it in your head with sentences steadier than the ones printed. You discover that desire doesn't always mean romance. It can mean wanting to be present without apology. There is a story people tell about women like you, and it goes like this. Unclaimed means unfinished. But look closely at your days. Who keeps this household's calendar from unraveling? Who knows the names of the widows and which ones won't admit they need soup? Who fills the baskets, writes the thank yous, remembers the birthdays, teaches the children the verses their fathers forget? A home is an orchestra that imagines it plays itself. You know the real conductor never takes a bow. On Wednesdays you visit a cousin who recently married. Her rooms are lovely and loud with new furniture. She speaks with the confidence of someone whose place is printed on the invitations. Later she squeezes your hand and whispers, almost guilty, sometimes I envy your quiet. You don't answer, not because you are offended, but because you cannot explain that quiet is only beautiful when you choose it. Quiet that is assigned is a costume. Quiet that is claimed is a craft. One market day, a neighbor with feathers in her hat and opinions to match stops you by the celery and announces a widower in need of a reliable woman. She is pleased with herself for solving you, the way some people are pleased with solving puzzles no one asked them to finish. You nod politely and buy the celery anyway. Back home, your mother gives you a look balanced between hope and apology. You kiss her cheek and set the vegetables down like a flag you will not carry. The soft pressure of polite society is a tide. It does not shove, it pulls. It erases edges, not with rules but with expectations. It praises compliance as character and calls compromise maturity. You begin to notice how many sentences start with should when people talk to you. You begin to answer them, if only on paper, with maybe and sometimes no. A letter arrives from a friend you haven't seen since school. She never married. She teaches art. She keeps goats. Her script runs slanted and quick across the page, like feet on a hill. There is more than one way to be a woman, she writes. I only wish the village would let us say so aloud. You hold the paper to your chest for a moment, not from drama, but relief. Someone has handed you a sentence you needed and didn't know how to begin. You copy it into your journal twice. That evening, you are asked again kindly, always kindly if you will consider serving as a companion to a cousin's aunt. Not a career, heavens no. Just until something changes. You fold your gloves, pack a small valise, and go. Not because you were defeated, but because you have learned the difference between surrender and strategy. If the world will not invite you to be a main character, you will become indispensable in the wings and watch the whole play from there. You will collect details the script forgot, and one day you will write your own. You arrive at a quiet house, where time sits in chairs and tells the same stories each afternoon. You pour tea, you count pills, you listen to memories unspoken. It is work without a title and dignity without applause. It is also evidence. You are not unfinished. You are useful, exact, observant. Your life is not waiting to begin, it's busy. Becoming a record of care the world only notices when it goes missing. Night finds you in a small room again. Candle low, the air smelling faintly of starch and lavender. You open your notebook. The page doesn't flinch when you tell the truth. You write, unclaimed does not mean unlived. I am not a spare part in a household machine. I am an instrument that plays in quiet keys. Then you close the book, breathe, in the peace that comes from naming something correctly, and let sleep carry you into a morning you can meet without apology. Morning comes with a grey sky and a quiet street. You wash your face in cool water and tie your hair in a simple knot. Today is a school day. The headmistress likes the bell rung at 9, the slates wiped, the copybook stacked square, the chalk fresh. You walk with steady steps and a small bag that holds 2 pencils, a bit of thread, and a sweet tucked away for a child who needs courage. The schoolhouse sits at the edge of town, like a box left by a careful hand. The paint flakes on the windowsills. The door sticks if you do not pull in and push up at the same time. Inside, the room smells like old wood, wet coats, and chalk dust. The stove gives out a thin heat that never reaches the corners. You light the lamp anyway. Light matters even when heat does not listen. Girls arrive in 2s and 3s, cheeks pink from the air, boots muddy, hair in braids that will not hold. Some carry baby brothers on their hips for a few minutes, until a mother can come back and take them home. Some look too young to be here. Some look older than they should. All of them look at you the same way in the first minute, as if you might make the day safer. You begin with reading. Letters march across the board like little soldiers. You point and speak slowly. The room answers in a soft chorus. A, B, C. You clap once and smile. You teach them to shape the sounds that live in their mouths and do not yet know the road onto paper. You watch for the one who pretends to know and help her without asking her to stand. Dignity is not a luxury in this room. It is the rule. You teach numbers next, sums that fit inside a child's hand, 2s and 5s. You line up buttons like tiny moons and slide them across the desk to show what adding looks like when it is honest. Some girls catch the trick at once. Some need the story told slower. You do not rush. You learned long ago that time is a kind of kindness. At 11, the room is hungry and the stove sighs. You pass around a jug of water and a plate of bread. The headmistress calls simple, but to a few of the girls it is the best part of the day. One girl tucks her piece into her pocket for a brother. You do not stop her. You tuck a second piece into the same pocket when no one looks. She meets your eyes and nods once. No thanks allowed. No need. Copywork fills the hour before noon. You walk between desks, the floor creaking like an old song. You adjust a small hand here, lift a wrist there, tilt a paper so the light falls easier. You speak softly, but not in the tone people use for scolding. You learned this voice the hard way. It is the sound that says, I see you, and you can do this. Your pay is small. The headmistress counts coins with care and calls it respectable. It is not enough for comfort, but it is enough for a room in the attic and a coat that keeps most of the wind out. You mend the coat yourself and patch the elbows with cloth from a dress that once felt fine. You are not ashamed of this. Repair is a kind of pride. At noon, the girls tumble away to homes and errands and smaller rooms that need their hands. You stay. You wipe the slate. You shake the erasers outside and watch a cloud of white dust lift and drift like the first breath of winter. You eat an apple. You drink water that tastes like tin. You sit a moment in the small quiet and feel the peace that comes when a place has been busy and is not busy now. In the afternoon, a woman from the church stops by. She smiles with all the teeth she has and calls you dear. She says it is good. You have something to do. She says it keeps the mind from straying. You agree with the part about doing. You do not answer the rest. When she leaves, you write 2 lines on the board. Work is dignity. Learning is light. You let the chalk sit there until evening, as if the wall itself needs to hear you. Sleep in the attic room above the school for a while. The roof is low. The window is small. In winter, the wash basin freezes if you forget the kettle. You keep your blanket folded twice at the foot of the bed and warm a brick when the sky threatens frost. You learn the schedule of the night mice and stop being surprised by their tiny feet. You keep your boots by the bed and your journal under your pillow. It is not grand, but it is yours when the door is closed. To own the shut of a door is no small thing. On Wednesdays you help a woman 2 streets over. She is not ill, not exactly, but the doctor calls her delicate and hands out bottles with labels that promise rest in liquid form. You do not believe in the bottles. You believe in fresh air and clean cups and a steady voice. You walk with her to the window and name the clouds. You untangle yarn and stories. You light the fire before she asks. She tells the same tale of a summer once and a river once. You listen each time like the world is new. Some nights you count your coins and count your days and feel a weight settle behind your ribs. It is not fear, it is a clear picture. One illness could tilt the table. One missed pay could put you in a room where the door does not shut. You do not look away from this picture. You let it make you sharper. You mend more. You waste less. You copy out a small advertisement for music lessons and paste it up at the baker's with neat glue. 2 girls come on Thursdays with stiff fingers and bright eyes. They pay in coins and once in eggs. You take both. At the end of a long week, you sit at your desk under the roof with a cup of tea so weak it is almost only water. You open your journal. The paper is precious, but so are your thoughts. You write the names of girls who learned to read this month, and beside each name, one small thing you notice that is not about lessons. Laugh like a bell, steady hand, brave even when hungry. You keep the list, so when the world tries to measure them only by their father's wages or their future marriages, you will have a truer measure ready. You will remember them fully because someone should. A letter arrives from your friend near Oxford, the one with the goats and the wild handwriting. She writes about a club where women speak freely about books and laws and what would make the town kinder. She says they sit in a circle with tea and talk until someone has a better sentence for something hard. She says there is a chair for you if you come. You lay the letter flat and press your palm to it. You will go, not tomorrow, but soon. The idea of a room where you can use all your words is like a warm shawl. Sunday morning, you find yourself in the second pew again. The sermon talks about service and calls it womanly. You sit very still and think about the girls who carry water and brothers and baskets, and how none of them are called heroic for it. You think about your own hands and how they hold a classroom together like mortar. You are not angry, you are awake. That is different. After the service, you stand where the sun falls through the glass and let your face be seen. No apology in your posture. You exist and you are useful. And the two facts are allowed to stand next to each other without a third fact being added to make others comfortable. On the walk home, a child runs up beside you with a slate in her arms. She points to her letters and grins. She has written her own name, crooked and glorious. You cheer out loud right there in the street. Her mother laughs and thanks you and says the girl would sleep with the slate under her pillow if she could. You say she should. Names belong close to the heart until they feel safe there. That night, you bank the school stove and check the windows twice. You sweep the floor in long strokes and shake the mat outside. You touch the doorknob like a promise. Tomorrow you will unlock it again. Tomorrow you will count in tens and teach the letter that always makes little tongues stumble. Tomorrow you will notice something small that the world would have missed and you will remember it. For a child who needs to be seen, you climb the attic stairs. You light your lamp. You write one more line before you sleep. Today I was necessary. Then you blow the lamp out. The dark is clean and quiet, and for once you do not feel the cold at all. Morning is cold. Your breath is white. The street smells like coal and bread. You walk down stone steps. A basement door sticks. You push with your shoulder. The soup kitchen is small. Steam fogs the windows. Big pots bubble. Onions, cabbage, wet wool. A nun stirs a pot. She nods at you. Apron there, she says. You tie it tight. You wash your hands. You begin to ladle. People line up. A widow comes first. Hair neat like armor. She says, "Thank you," like a plan. A young woman comes next. A girl clings to her skirt. Both pretend they are only visiting. You fill their bowls high. A tall woman steps forward. She looks tired but proud. "Alice," she says softly, "I used to teach." She tells you she was a governess in Kent. The children grew up. The job ended. The room ended. Now she sews buttons for pennies. "Sister," she calls you by the second visit. You try not to stare. You still notice everything. A cough that comes in a pattern. A limp that gets worse in rain. A wedding ring kept on a ribbon. Pride held up by a pin. You go back the next week. And the next. You learn the rhythm. wash, ladle, wipe, count. Listen, you write small notes on your cuff. Milk for the girl in the red scarf. Coal for the widow on Baker Lane. Alice needs a thimble that fits. Names first, then needs. Needs become lists. The poorhouse feels close now. Not a story. A door you can see from here. You are giving soup. You also see your own shadow in the line. One illness, one lost job, one bad winter. You could be here too. You are not afraid. You are awake. Awake is different from afraid. You write letters at night. To the parish board, to the church council, to anyone who signs their name with a key. Your letters are short, plain words, clean numbers. Here is what we see. Here is what will help. Here is what we can do with £5. You make a simple plan. A home for retired working women. Small rooms. Shared kitchen. To warm stoves. A garden for beans and mint. A row of hooks for shawls. Pride aloud at the table. You list the costs. Coal per week. Bread per day. Doctor's visit per month. One paid matron with a steady voice. Everything else by rota. Replies arrive slowly. We will consider. Funds are limited. Write again in spring. You do not sulk. You write again. You add more names. You add better sums. The boarding house joins you. Miss Potter brings dialed rolls. She calls them perfect for soup. Edith puts a jar on the mantel. Coins sound brave in glass. Hanley reads a psalm at the kitchen once a week. She does not preach. She reminds, you are seen, she says. Miss Tremaine adds a small sign by the hall door. Donations for winter kitchen accepted. She says it like it has always been there. You stop letting small slights pass. The grocer pinches your measure. You hold his eye until the scale is honest. A man calls you dear in that tone. You answer with silence that does not move. He steps back from it. A woman at the pump whispers, charity makes people lazy. You nod once. Hunger makes people nothing, you say. We prefer something. She does not answer. She brings a sack of onions the next day. You build a winter plan. Coal rota for cold weeks. Soup rota for 6 streets. A list called Red Ribbon Days. On those days someone visits the quiet. One's a knock, a loaf, a look. You all right? We are here. The line grows when the wind bites. Your hands learn the weight of a full ladle. Your back learns a new ache and a new pride. You tell stories while you serve. Short ones, true ones. How the shop gave scrap bones for broth. How Mrs. Bell found a cheap sack of carrots. How the girls at school are reading out loud without fear. Laughter shows up between spoons. Alice lingers after closing. She shows you a needle scar. Too dark to see by, she jokes. You send her home with a candle and a promise. We are working on the home, you say. She nods. She does not ask when. She knows work takes time. A councilman visits the kitchen. Hat perfect. Gloves new, he says. Very worthy. He says, very touching. He says, we must avoid dependency. You hand him a ladle. Stir while we talk, you say. He stirs. You tell him names. You tell him numbers. You tell him the cost of coal compared to gin. You do not shout. You do not hurry. He nods like a man who has been given homework. You print a 1-page proposal. You keep it plain. Title, A Small House with Big Use. Bullets like bricks. One for beds, one for meals, one for rules that protect dignity. You add your name at the end, and your street. You are not hiding. You practice the pitch. You stand in your room. You speak to the washstand, and the cracked basin, and the chair with the patient wobble. Here is the plan, you say. Here is the cost. Here is the value. Your voice steadies by the third try. Meeting night comes. A long table, cool faces, papers stacked like walls. You hold your pages like kindling. You speak, short, clear, human. You answer questions. You keep your hands still. You say we more than I. They thank you. They say very interesting. They say we shall review. You bow your head once. You walk outside. You breathe the dark like air you earned. Margaret writes that week, a steady hand on thin paper. What you are doing matters, she says. They call it pity. I call it power. You press the letter to your chest. You do not cry. You get your coat. You go back to the kitchen. Not all news is good. One woman stops coming. You ask. Moved, someone says. You do not believe it. You check 3 streets. You find her on a stair with no coal and no milk. You do not scold. You carry. You heat. You sit until her hands stop shaking. Then you add her to the red ribbon list. The board sends a note. We can grant £10 to start. £10 is not enough. £10 is something. You write, thank you. You add the list of what £10 will buy. Bed frames second hand. 2 stoves if one is blessed. A pot big. Enough to feed a street. The house answers to Miss Potter knows a man with nails. He is kind to pianos, she says. He can be kind to beds. Edith speaks to a baker who saved old shelves. They will be good as cupboards. Hanley collects spoons like a magpie collects light. Miss Tremaine donates the tilting chair for parts, she says. Not for sitting. Everyone laughs. A corner room is found. Cheap because the wallpaper sulks. The window sticks. The floor tilts toward the hearth. You see a future. Beds here, hooks there. A table in the middle for letters and bread. You write the first list on the cold mantle. Then you move it to paper. Work follows plans. Plans follow. Hands follow hope. Hope follows proof. Proof is someone warm and fed. The kitchen line is shorter 1 mild day. You lean on the counter with the nun. Tired? She asks. A good tired, you say. Good tired is a prayer, she says. You think she is right. At home you fall into a chair. Feet up on the fender. Tea tastes like a medal. Edith counts coins out loud. Miss Potter hums something almost happy. Hanley pretends not to tear up. Miss Tremaine says, no sentimental puddles on my rug. Everyone laughs. Then everyone breathes together. You open your notebook. You write. 1 line, awake is not fear. Awake gets hands moving. You add another. We will build the room ourselves. You underline we. Twice. You blow out the lamp. The city turns in its sleep. Your bones hum with use. You close your eyes. Tomorrow, more soup. Tomorrow, more letters. Tomorrow, 1 more brick on the house that does not yet exist. It will. You can already feel its warmth. Sunday is bright and cold. Bells ring across wet stone. Your gloves are dry from the stove rail. You walk with Miss Potter, Miss Price, and Hanley. For steady steps. For tidy hats. For quiet hearts that refuse to shrink. The church door is heavy. The usher smiles too wide. A new notice hangs by the hymn numbers. Front pews reserved for young families and married couples. The letters. are neat. The message is not. You feel heat in your face. Miss Potter's mouth becomes a straight line. Hanley whispers, "So where do we sit?" The lane. Miss Price squeezes your elbow. "Later," you whisper. "We will answer later." You take a side pew, second from the back. The vicar speaks of order. He smiles like calm weather. He does not look at you. Babies cry. Paper rustles. Sunlight climbs the wall. Your chest is tight, not with grief, but with a simple word: no. After the hymn, you walk out first. Your friends follow like a small river. The notice board keeps smiling. You copy the words into your notebook. You add one line under it: "We belong in the front of our own lives." That afternoon, you make tea strong. The boarding house fills the parlor. Miss Tremaine brings spare paper. "It is time, I think," she says. Edith sets out pencils like knives. Hanley warms her hands over the grate. Miss Potter hums one low note to keep the room steady. You begin the letter. To the Reverend and the Church Council. Your hand does not shake. We thank you for your care for families. You pause. We ask you to remember us. You keep the words short. Short words carry far. You do not ask for pity. You write facts. Unmarried women keep the flowers fresh. Unmarried women teach the children. Unmarried women mend the hymn books. Unmarried women light the fire on winter mornings. Unmarried women give coin when coin is thin. You name the hurt plainly. Reserving the front pews tells us we do not show unity. This is not true. We are part of the body. We are not extra. You suggest a fix. Let the front pews be first come, first served. Let help find need by sight, not title. Let all the church see who keeps the lamps burning. You sign your name. You stop. You look at the room. If you want your name here, say it. No one looks down. Miss Potter signs with a flourish. Miss Price writes slow and careful. Hanley presses hard. The nib scratches like a small storm. Edith signs with shaking pride. Miss Tremaine signs last. Householder, she adds, as if it were a rank in an army. You make 2 clean copies, one for the council, one for the church door, if needed. You fold them like good linen. The next morning is sharp with frost. You carry the letter in your pocket. It feels warm, like a live thing. You knock on the vicarage door. A maid answers. You smile. For the Reverend. Her eyes flash with curiosity. She nods and takes it in with both hands. You go to work. You ring the school bell. You teach the sums. But your chest knows you are waiting. The day moves like a cart uphill. Evening brings a small note. We have received your letter. We will discuss. Thank you for your concern. Cool words. Still, a door is open. Doors are the real work. You do not wait quietly. You visit women who never sit near the front. You ask, would you sign? If asked, many say yes. Some say no. Some say, I am tired of asking. You say, then sit with us Sunday. Do not ask, just sit. Sunday comes. The air smells like wool and cold stone. The notice is still on the board. It looks braver than it is. You walk in early. Your boots sound like a plan. You turn down the main aisle. People watch without staring. The usher hesitates. He glances toward the vicar's door. You keep walking. You choose the second pew from the front. You sit. Your friends slide in beside you. Hats, gloves, quiet spines. The sun falls across the Hymnals dust dances like tiny flags. Your heart thumps hard, then settles. The first bell rings. Families file in. A few raise eyebrows. A few smile. One young mother gives you a quick nod of thanks, as if you saved her a climb with a baby. The vicar steps up. He looks over the room. He clears his throat. He starts the service without comment. The sermon is very safe. He says, charity. 5 times. He does not say unity. Not once. After, the yard becomes a study of faces. Some cool, some warm. One woman says, bold, miss. Another whispers, about time. A girl tugs her mother's sleeve and asks, can we sit? Where the light is, next week. Her mother says, yes. You breathe easier. Monday, a councilman brings a second note. The reserved sign will be removed. Pews are open to all. We thank the ladies for their faithful service. It is not an apology. It is. Enough. You show the note at supper. Miss Tremaine taps it with a spoon. Frame it, she says. Everyone laughs. Then everyone grows quiet with relief. You write a reply to the vicar. Short again. Thank you for the change. We will keep doing the work. We hope you will see us while we do it. That week, something shifts. Seats change like tides. Old lines blur. A widow sits near the front. A maid takes a place where she can hear. 2 spinsters sing brass-strong from the second pew. Your voice fills the space it is given. It does not apologize for doing so. Small things follow. The flower rota gains new names. The school notice lists you as secretary in neat ink. The church board adds thanks to the ladies who ordered the winter coal. Names once whispered are spoken at full volume, not all the time, enough to mark a change. You feel braver with paper now. You write another short letter to the editor. Public seats are for the public. Dignity is not a gift from a man with a pen. Dignity is a seat you take and keep. It prints between a lost cat and a soap ad. You smile. It will reach who it must. In the parlor, the talk is light and fierce. Edith says, next we claim the library chairs. All of them, Hanley adds. Miss Potter plays a tune that sounds like a grin. Miss Tremaine bakes a pie and calls it victory pie. It is. Mostly apples and attitude. A few people disapprove. A gentleman says it is unbecoming to make scenes. You keep your voice even. We did not make a scene. You say we took a seat. He has no answer ready. He tips his hat to the air and leaves. A young woman stops you at the market. She holds a loaf and a question. Does this mean I can sit in front even if I am alone? Yes, you say, especially then. Her face lifts like a lamp being turned up. That night, you open your notebook. You add a new section, claims. You write 3 lines, a seat, a name on paper, a place in the we. You paste the council note on the next page. You draw a square around it like a frame. You write under it, small. Winds hold large doors. Letters come, not many. Enough. Saw you sitting up front. Felt braver today. Sang louder. You keep them in your wooden box. The ribbon is not for show. It keeps the pages from scattering when the world shakes. You visit the church on a quiet afternoon. No crowd, no notice. Just stone, wood. Light. You walk to the second pew. You sit. You run your fingers along the smooth rail. You say nothing. You do not need to. On your way out, the vicar meets you at the door. He looks a little tired. Good day, miss, he says. Good day, Reverend, you answer. He hesitates. Thank you for the reminder. You nod once. Thank you for listening, you say. He smiles, small, real. Back at the house, the kettle sings. The parlor smells like clean paper and warm bread. Edith holds up a handbill. Women's Reading Circle, Thursday, 7. You grin. Put it on the board, you say. Miss Tremaine nails it in place with 2 neat tacks. She steps back, arms folded, proud as a banner. You wash your cup. You dry it on your apron. You look at your friends. You look at the door. You feel the next thing forming, the way rain forms in certain clouds. You write one last line before sleep. We did not ask to be central. We simply stopped standing at the edge. You underline stopped. Twice. The lamp is low. The street is soft. The house breathes like a safe creature. Tomorrow you will teach. You will fold sheets. You will write one page that cannot be erased. And on Sunday you will sit where the light is, because you belong there. Because you always did. Frost bites the grass. Bells ring thin and bright. Your gloves squeak. From the stove rail, you walk to church with the others. Miss Potter hums a low note. Miss Price counts steps without meaning to. Hanley blows into her hands. The notice board glitters. New words in neat ink. Front pews reserved for families and married couples. You read it twice. Heat climbs your neck. Hanley mutters, "We live in the lane now." Later, you say. We will answer later. You take a back pew. The hymn tastes like chalk. The vicar smiles like calm weather. He speaks of order. He does not see you. Babies cry. Pages rustle. Sunlight crawls up stone. One small word forms in your chest. No. After the service, you walk out first. Your boots clicked like a plan. You copy the notice into your notebook. Under it you write, "We belong in the light." The parlor fills after tea. Miss Tremaine lays out paper. Say it plain, she says. Edith sets pencils like small swords. Miss Potter keeps a steady hum. Hanley warms her hands and nods. You start the letter. To the Reverend and the Church Council, we thank you for care. We ask you to remember us. Short lines, strong lines. Unmarried women wash altar cloths. Unmarried women train the choir. Unmarried women light stoves at dawn. Unmarried women give when coin is thin. Reserving the front tells us we are not unity. This is not true. We are part of the body. We are not extra. Open the pews. First come, first seated. Let help find need by sight, not title. You sign your name. You lift the pen. If you want your name here, say it. No one looks down. Miss Potter signs like music. Miss Price writes slow and neat. Hanley presses hard. The nib scratches. Edith signs, hand shaking, eyes bright. Miss Tremaine adds householder. 2 fair copies. One for the council, one for the board, if needed. You fold them like good linen. Next morning, you knock at the vicarage. A maid opens. For the Reverend, she holds the letter like a warm loaf. You leave before courage over-explains itself. You ring the school bell. You teach sums and copy lines. Your chest still waits. Waiting is work too. Evening brings a note. Received, will discuss. Cool ink, still, the door is open. You do not sit still. You visit women who sit in shadows. Would you sign? Some yes, some no. Some say, I am tired of asking. Then come Sunday, you say. Sit. Do not ask. Sunday you rise early. Gloves, hat, steady breath. The notice remains. It looks brave. It is not. You take the center aisle. The usher hesitates. He glances at a closed door. You walk on. Second pew. You sit. Your friends sit. Hands folded. Spines tall. Faces calm. Light lands on the hymnals. Dust dances like little flags. The first bell rings. Families arrive. Some frown. Some smile. A young mother nods thanks. You saved her a climb with a baby. The vicar begins. No mention of seats. The sermon is safe as porridge. He says charity. He avoids unity. In the yard, faces speak. Bold, says one. About time, says another. A girl asks her mother, can we sit? Where the sun is. Yes, the mother answers. Monday, a second note arrives. Reserved sign removed. Pews open to all. We thank the ladies for faithful service, not an apology. Enough. You carry the note to the parlor. Miss Tremaine taps it with a spoon. Frame it, she says. Laughter, then quiet relief. You write a reply. Thank you for the change. We will keep doing the work. Please see us while we do it. Small shifts follow. A widow sits near light. A maid hears the sermon from the front. Two spinsters sing brass strong. Names move from whispers to boards. Thanks to Miss for call order. Ink makes women real. You send a short letter to the paper. Public seats are for the public dignity is a seat you take and keep. It prints between a soap ad and a lost cat. It will find who needs it. The parlor is bright with jokes. Next we claim library chairs, says Edith. All of them, Hanley adds. Miss Potter's tune sounds like a smile. Miss Tremaine bakes victory pie. Mostly apple, mostly nerve. A man at the market says, unbecoming to make scenes. We did not make a scene. You say we took a seat. His hat tips to no one. He leaves with no clever end. A girl stops you by the bread stall. May I sit in front if I come alone? Yes, you say. Especially then, her face brightens like a lamp turned up. At night, you open your notebook. A new section. Claims you write 3 lines. A seat, a name on paper, a place in the we. You paste the council note. You draw a neat square around it. Underneath, small winds hold large doors. A few letters arrive. Saw you up front. Sang louder. Felt braver. You tie them with ribbon. The ribbon keeps pages from flying when the world shakes. On a quiet afternoon you visit the church. No crowd, no notice. Only stone with light. You sit in the second pew. Fingers along the rail. No words. You do not need them. The vicar meets you at the door. Good day, miss. Good day, reverend. He pauses. Thank you for the reminder. Thank you for listening. You answer. A small, real smile. At home. The kettle sings. The board in the hall holds a new notice. Women's reading circle. Thursday, 7. Put it up, you say. Miss Tremaine fixes it with 2 tacks, proud as a banner. You wash your cup. You dry it on your apron. You look around the room. You feel the next thing forming, the way rain forms in a certain sky. Before sleep, you write 1 line. We did not ask to be central. We stopped standing at the edge. You underline stopped. Twice. The lamp sighs low. The street softens. The house breathes like a safe animal. Sunday will come again. You will sit where the light is. You belong there. You always did. Thursday comes. 7 o'clock. The parlor is warm. A small sign on the hall board says, Women's Reading Circle. Miss Tremaine straightens it twice, like a proud mother. Chairs scrape into a circle. Kettle hums. Pages rustle. You bring your notebook and a pencil trimmed to a neat point. Women arrive in 2s and 3s, some from the washhouse, some from shops. One in an apron still dusted with flour, another in black widows, laced pinned with care. Miss Potter opens the evening. Bring 1 page, she says. Yours or someone else's, she adds. We will listen as if it matters, she finishes. It does. A girl reads a poem about steam on cold glass. Her voice shakes. Her lines don't. The room holds its breath and then lets it out like warmth. Hanley reads a letter never sent. It is funny and fierce. I will not sit behind a screen, it says. The circle hums with agreement. Your turn comes. Your hands are not quite steady. You unfold a single page. Plain words, clean lines, a small scene. A woman pours tea in a house that is not hers and keeps one quiet decision for herself. You read in a low voice. The room does not blink. When you finish, no one claps. They nod instead, slow and real. That is us, someone says. All the way through, says another. Miss Tremaine clears her throat. Write more, she orders, as if placing bread on a list. The circle laughs. You laugh too and feel taller by an inch. You begin a habit. Before bed, 1 page. Not a letter, not minutes. A story. Small rooms, small decisions, large hearts that do not ask permission. Ink gathers like dawn. You try a name at the top, not yours. A simple pen name, a Finch. You like how it looks light and steady. It feels like standing without apology. You copy a clean draft. You walk to a tiny periodical on a narrow street. The sign swings in the wind. The Ladies' Review and Household Ledger. Soap adds share space with essays there. Your kind of place. The clerk is brisk. He takes the paper without comment. If accepted, we will write, he says. He does. Not look up, you say. Thank you. Your courtesy is armor and choice. Days pass like slow carts. You teach. You ladle soup. You fold minutes. You make the coal rota again. Each night, 1 page. The page makes the day make sense. A letter arrives with thin blue edges. We found your piece clear and necessary, it says. We will publish. Next month, token payment enclosed. 3 coins fall into your palm. They are small. You grin like you have bought the moon. You do not tell anyone until the day comes. The post brings the issue bound with string. The paper smells of ink and rain. Your eyes find your lines before your name. There they are, words you pushed across a page in the quiet, now walking into other rooms without you. You carry the journal into the parlor. You place it on the table like a warm loaf. No speech, just the thing itself. Edith opens it. She reads the first line aloud. Her voice goes bright. It's you, she says, and then it's us. Miss Potter's eyes shine like polished wood. Hanley says nothing and squeezes your hand hard. Miss Tremaine nods once, soldier. Frame the page after you're done with it, she orders. That night, the circle is louder. Women read braver lines. A seamstress writes about the ache in her shoulders and calls it honest work, not sorrow. A maid writes about stairs and names each landing like a country she has crossed. A widow writes about a quiet room and finds pride there. After tea, someone brings up the paper again. They point to your byline. A. Finch. They say, "Why Finch?" "Because it is small and it sings," you answer. The room agrees at once. Letters begin to arrive. Folded, simple, brave. "I thought I was the only one," says one. "I read it to my mother. We did not speak. We only held hands," says another. "I am a governess and I cried," says Alice in careful script. You keep each letter in the wooden box under ribbon. The ribbon keeps shape when the world shakes. You reply to every letter. Plain words, clean thanks. Your reading is part of the work. You're right. We are less alone than we were last week, you add. The editor asks for another piece. "Write of what you see," he says in ink that tries to be kind. So you do. You write about seats and who takes them. You write about notices that move and doors that open. You write about soup and coal and names spoken aloud on boards. You write about the quiet power of women who keep towns from falling over. The second piece prints beside an ad for a corset light as a cloud. You laugh into your sleeve. "Let them try a ledger," Hanley says. The room roars. The reading circle thickens into a habit. More chairs, more pages. Miss Potter starts. A borrow shelf. 3 novels. A history. A book of poems with the corner softened by many thumbs. A rule in chalk above the shelf. Return the book with one new sentence you loved. People obey happily. You begin to keep minutes for the circle to knot. The tidy kind. The true kind. Annie spoke for the first time. Mrs. Bell laughed until the lamp shook. We decided pie is a reading food. You add a small ledger of coins for biscuits and ink. Edith guards that jar like treasure. A teacher from another parish visits. She sits in the corner and listens with her whole face. Afterward, she asks you to read at her school. Not a speech, she says. A story. You pack your little folio and a calm breath. You speak to a room of girls who sit like lanterns, waiting for the match. You tell them about small wins. You tell them about seats. You tell them about the shape of a day that belongs to you. Their eyes do not look away. You leave lighter than when you came. The vicar reads your piece. He does not say so. His sermon the next Sunday says unity twice. The third time he tries, his voice catches. He looks at the second pew. You keep your face still and your mouth gentle. You sing the hymn like a person who is home. Not everyone is happy. A gentleman at the market says, "Ladies should not write about such matters." Which matters? You ask. Seats, soup, names. He rearranges his hat, finds no answer, and buys plums he does not want. You do not argue, you do not explain. You save your breath for pages and for rooms that listen. A printer invites you to see the press. You go. The machine clanks like a stubborn horse. Type bites paper and leaves ideas there. You watch your words become print again. You feel something odd. Not pride exactly, recognition. Ah, you think. So this is how a quiet life makes noise. The circle decides to make a small pamphlet of its own. Hand-stitched spines, brown paper covers, a title in plain ink, From Our Parlour, pages by working women. Miss Tramine lines up the stacks like soldiers. Miss Potter ties twine bows that do not slip. Edith stamps the back with our address. The stamp is crooked and perfect. You choose 5 pieces, not your longest, your truest. A woman taking a seat, A girl reading without asking for permission. A widow learning the price of coal by memory and refusing to be kind to bad scales. A maid who writes in the stairwell light until the words are brave enough to walk. A teacher who keeps a key under her pillow and an index under her heart. You sell the pamphlet for pennies at the market. People pause. They touch the rough paper. They buy bread and words together. A fishmonger reads a paragraph and says, "My mother would like this." He tucks it under his apron with care. Margaret writes again. Her letter is steady and bright. "Your pages travel," she says. They arrive like a friend at a door. She mentions a lecture near Bath. If you come, there is a tea room where the chairs do not wobble. Your hands warm just reading it. You fold the letter twice and unfold it 3 times. You put it in the box under ribbon. The box feels like a heartbeat. At school, the girls begin to bring words of their own. A list of good doors in bad weather. A poem about ink on skin and how it looks like maps. A little play where the heroine says no, and the world listens. The headmistress watches from the doorway and pretends to cough instead of smile. "Keep to the lesson," she says. Then softer, "Keep to the lesson you are keeping." You learn a new balance. Work, writing, soup, sleep. A scarf for stone halls. Water before meetings. Peppermint for the throat. A walk that is only a walk. A day each month for silence that is yours and not an absence. Some nights you doubt, who am I to write? The answer is simple. A person who sees. A person who stays. A person with a pencil and a chair that can hold her. You write that answer on a scrap and pin it near your mirror. The boarding house grows louder in the best ways. Laughter travels up the staircase like a tune that knows the way. The kettle sings more. The coal scuttle is heavier and emptier. And heavier again. Women knock on the door and ask, "Is this the place?" Yes, you say it is. They enter with damp hems and big eyes. They leave with dry socks and a page in their pocket. One evening the circle votes to send a copy of your first story to the town library. For the shelf, not the desk, Miss Tremaine insists. "Spine out," adds Hanley, "so a girl can find it without asking." You walk it over together, a full parade of hats and purpose. The librarian lifts an eyebrow and then a smile. "We will shelve it under essays," she says. "It belongs where it can be found." You pass the church on the way home. The door is open for evening light. You look at the second pew and feel calm, not triumph, belonging. You keep walking. There is tea to pour and pages to fold. There is a city to keep warm in small ways. There is a life to write while living it. At your desk, you add a new page to the index. Title, "What Writing Does." You fill it with small entries. Turns a room into a we. Makes a chair into a place. Teaches the mouth to say what the hand already knows. Finds the others. Keeps the day from being erased. You close the book. You set your pencil down like a tool after a good day's work. You breathe. The house breathes with you. Outside, carts rattle. Somewhere, a bell marks the hour. You write one last line before sleep. I am not a footnote. I am the page. You underline page once, slow. You blow out the lamp. The dark is kind tonight. Tomorrow you will write again. A little louder, still clear, still yours. Thursday night feels brave. The parlor is warm. Chairs make a circle. A small sign says, Women's Reading Circle, 7 o'clock. Miss Tremaine taps it straight. Edith smiles like a match just lit. You bring a pencil and one page. Your hands are clean. Your heart is busy. Women arrive in twos and threes. A laundress with cracked knuckles. A seamstress with thread on her sleeve. A widow with careful hair. A maid who still smells of soap. Miss Potter clears her throat. 1 page each, she says. Yours or borrowed. Read it like it matters. It does. The maid reads first. A small poem about stairs. Each landing is a victory. The room nods. No one tells her to speak softer. Hanley reads a letter never sent. It is sharp and kind at once. I will not be made smaller, it says. The circle breathes out like a choir. Your turn comes. Your paper shakes once. You steady it with a thumb. You read a short scene. A woman in a borrowed room saves one choice for herself. It is plain. It is true. No one claps. They nod instead. That is us, Miss Price says. All through, Edith adds. Miss Tremaine makes a decision. Write more, she says, as if adding bread to a list. Everyone laughs. You do too. You start a habit. 1 page before sleep. Not minutes, not letters. Story. Small rooms, small risks, big hearts. You choose a pen name. 2 letters and a bird. A finch, small. Able to sing, able to fly if needed. You copy a clean draft. You walk to a narrow shop. Ladies' Review and Household Ledger, the sign says. Soap ads in the window, essays inside. Your kind of mix. The clerk takes your paper. If accepted, we will write, he says. He does not look up. You do not shrink. Thank you, you say. Your courtesy is a choice, not a bow. Days pass. You teach sums. You ladle soup. You fold handbills. You walk home with clean, tired feet. Each night, 1 page. The page keeps the day from fading. A letter arrives with neat blue edges. Clear and necessary, it says. We will publish next month. Token. Payment enclosed. 3 coins fall like small bells. You grin into your sleeve. You tell no one until the paper comes. It smells like ink and rain. Your eyes find your lines. They stand up straight on the page. They walk into other rooms without you. You carry the issue to the parlor. No speech, just the book on the table. Edith opens it. She reads the first line aloud. It's you, she says. It's us, Miss Potter adds. Hanley squeezes your hand. Miss Tremaine nods once. Frame it after we've thumbed it, she orders. Letters begin to come. Folded small, brave inside. I thought I was alone, one says. I read it to my mother. We held hands. Another says, I am a governess. I cried in the pantry, writes Alice. You put them in the wooden box. The ribbon keeps shape when the world shakes. You answer every letter. Plain words, clean thanks. Your reading is part of the work. You write. We are less alone this week than last. The editor asks for more. Write what you see, he says. So you do. Seats and who takes them. Notices that move. Soup that saves pride. Coal orders signed by women. Names on boards in tidy ink. The peace prints beside a corset ad. Light as a cloud, it boasts. Try a ledger, Hanley mutters. The room laughs so hard the lamp shakes. The circle grows. More chairs, more pages. A borrow shelf appears. 3 novels, a history, a book of poems. Above it, chalk rules. Return with 1 sentence you loved. People obey and add good lines, like coins. A teacher from another parish visits. She listens with her whole face. Read at our school, she asks. Not a lecture, a story. You pack your folio, you pack your calm. The girls sit like lanterns, waiting for a match. You tell them about small wins, about taking a seat, about a day that belongs to you. Their eyes do not look away. The vicar reads your piece. He does not say so. Next Sunday, he says unity twice. He looks at the second pew and clears his throat. You keep your face kind. You sing like a person who belongs. Not everyone is pleased. A man at the market says, ladies should not write about such matters. Which matters? You ask. Seats, soup, names. He polishes his hat with his sleeve. He buys plums he does not want. You save your breath for rooms that listen. A printer invites you to the press. The machine clanks like a stubborn horse. Type bites paper. Ideas appear. You watch your words become noise the city can hear. It is not pride you feel. It is recognition. So this is how quiet lives speak, you think. The circle makes a pamphlet. Brown paper covers. Thread spines. A stamped back that lists your address, crooked and honest. Title, from our parlor. 5 pieces inside. Yours about a seat. Edith's about a stare. Miss Potter's about work that sings. Hanley's about scales that lie and women who do not. Alice's about buttons and winter light. You sell them for pennies at the market. Words next to apples and onions. A fishmonger reads a paragraph. My mother would like this, he says. He tucks it under his apron like bread. The town library agrees to shelve 1 copy. Spine out, Miss Tremaine insists. Within. Reach, Hanley adds. The librarian smiles with her eyes. Essays, she says, where girls go when no one is watching. At school, the girls write to. A map of safe doors in bad weather. A poem about ink that looks like rivers. A tiny play where the heroine says no, and the room does not punish her. The headmistress pretends to cough. Her mouth hides a smile. Your days find a new balance. Work, writing, soup, rest, water before meetings, peppermint for the throat, a walk that is only a walk. 1 day a month for silence you own. Some nights doubt knocks. Who am I to write? You answer in plain ink. A person who sees, a person who stays. A person with a pencil and a chair. You pin that sentence by your mirror. The house is louder in the good way. Laughter climbs the stairs. The kettle sings often. The coal scuttle is heavy, and then empty, and then heavy again. Women knock and ask, is this the place? Yes, you say, it is. They leave with dry socks and 1 page folded tight in a pocket. You start keeping minutes for the circle. Not stiff, true. Annie spoke for the first time. Mrs. Bell laughed until the lamp shook. Decision, pie is a reading food. Edith counts the biscuit coins like a banker with a cause. A small envelope arrives from the periodical. Readers asked for more A. Finch, it says, you show the note at supper. No one cheers. They pass you the jam like a medal. It feels better than applause. Margaret writes again. Your pages travel, she says. They arrive like a friend. She mentions a lecture near Bath. Tea room with chairs that do not wobble. She adds, your hands warm just reading it. You put the letter in the box. The ribbon holds steady. Night comes soft. You sit at your desk. You open the index. New page. what writing does. You list small truths, turns a room into a we, teaches the mouth what the hand already knows, finds the others, keeps the day from being erased. You close the book, you set your pencil down like a tool well used. Outside, a cart rattles, a bell marks the hour. You write one last line. I am not a footnote. I am the page. You underline page once, slow. You blow out the lamp. Tomorrow you will write again, a little louder, still clear, still yours. The doctor's card sits on your table. Cream paper, neat black ink. For ladies' nerves, it says, rest, tonic, fewer ideas. You keep the card. You do not keep the rule. You paste the card in your notebook. Beside it, you write, I do not need fewer ideas. I need a fair world. Sleep is thin some nights. Your heart runs without a race. Your hands cool and warm by turns. You learn to breathe slow. You learn to drink water before words. You learn that a walk clears a thought better than a bottle. A bookseller shows you a shelf. Ladies' Health, the label says. Titles stack like scolds. Cures for the unwed. How clean floors. Calm the mind. Melancholy and the wayward womb. You laugh once, sharp. The bookseller frowns. Do you want one? He asks. No, you say. I want better books. At supper, you read lines aloud. Hanley snorts into her tea. Edith wipes her eyes from laughing. Miss Potter taps the page with a spoon. Write. An answer, she says. Plain, true hours. You write that night. Title simple. What tonics cannot fix. Short lines, clear points. Loneliness is not an illness. Work done without thanks is not a disorder. A woman who speaks is not unwell. A quiet ache can mean a loud life with no door. You send it to the Ladies' Review. The clerk does not look up. If accepted, we will write, he says. You walk home in cold air that feels honest. They print it. Your pen name sits small and steady, a Finch. The piece lands between a corset ad and a soap song. You smile at the mix. That is the world. You will live in it and answer it. Letters arrive, many different hands. Hard truths. I am a wife. He calls it nerves. It is hunger and fear. I am a maid. The mistress says I read too much. My heart beats fine when I am allowed a book. I am a governess. I am sent tonics when I ask for rest. I am a nun. We need more chairs, not more bottles. You answer each one. Plain words, clean thanks. You are not broken, you're right. Your body speaks for a life that needs more air. Find one friend, make 1 hour yours. Write me if you cannot find either. The box under your bed grows heavy with paper. The ribbon holds the stack like a gentle hand. Miss Tremaine reads the pile, jaw tight. We make a plan, she says. Not just pages, rooms. The parlor becomes a workshop. A chalkboard lists 3 lines. Warmth, food, talk. Start there, you say. Not with bottles, with basics. You set hours. Listening bench Tuesdays and Fridays. 2 chairs near the fire. A pot of tea. A small basket for coins if a woman wants to give. No advice without bread, Hanley says. She is right. Women come and sit. Some speak at once. Some stare into the fire and then nod, as if the saying is done without words. You write no names. You keep no secrets that are not yours. You offer tea and time and the firm truth. You are not mad. You were tired. You were crowded. You were hungry for a life that fits. The chemist complains. You are hurting my trade, he says. Your bottles do not fix a cold stove, you answer. He has no quick reply. Later, he gives old tins to the soup kitchen for storage, he says. Peace looks strange sometimes. A doctor writes to the paper. He uses long words like ropes. Hysteria, he says. Delicate constitutions, he says. Proper feminine quiet, he says. You send a letter back, short and steady. Hunger is not Latin, you write. Cold is not Latin. A locked door is not Latin. Open the door first, then we can talk about Greek. The paper prints your reply. A fishmonger laughs and slaps the bench. That will do, he says. A woman at the pump repeats your lines next day. Plain words travel fast. They cost nothing. They spend well. You host a small talk in the schoolroom. Title on the board: Nerves and Truth. No fee, no fuss. The room fills with shawls and cold hands. You give 5 tools: water, bread, air, light, a friend. You add 1 more. Say no where no is due. The room murmurs like a hive waking. Women add their own tools. A nap without apology, someone says. A walk with my head up, says another. A chair pulled to the front, says a third. You write them on the board. It looks like a recipe for a good life. Miss Potter brings out her joke ad. Mr. Finch's elixir for unmarried womanhood, it says. Ingredients: a spine, a friend, a pen, a pair of boots. The room roars. Laughter is medicine you trust. You write a second essay, title, instead, of silence. You tell the story of the listening bench. You list the tools again. You add 3 stories with the names changed. The editor prints it whole. No cuts. The margin smells of victory and cheap ink. More letters, from wives, from widows, from girls who hide a page in a hymn book, from a man who says, "My sister needs this. I did not understand until now." You write him back. Bring her tea, bring her time. Do not bring her a tonic unless she asks. The boarding house joins the work. Edith keeps a jar marked tea and talk fund. Coins ping like small bells. Hanley makes a list called hot water runs. She and 2 girls visit houses with cold kettles. Miss Tremaine trains a rota for the bench, so no woman sits alone when she has come to speak, she says. Miss Potter starts a quiet hour on Wednesdays. She plays scales. Women breathe slower by the 3rd song. Pushback comes. A gentleman says you encourage complaint. We encourage breath, you answer. A cousin says you are getting a name. Yes, you say, it is mine. The headmistress worries about your time. You show her a page of sums done right by girls who stopped fainting after food and air. She coughs into a smile. Very good, she says. One night you almost break. A letter from a far town shakes your hands. Hard story. No easy door. You lay the paper down. Your breath will not listen. You sit on the floor and hold the edge of the bed. The room tips and steadies. Miss Potter knocks once. She does not ask. She sits on the floor with you, back to back. You breathe together until the room is kind again. We do not cure the world, she says. We make a place to rest between battles. You nod into the dark. That is enough for tonight. You add a page to the index. Title, Symptoms 2. Watch. You write, skipping meals to save face. Walking the long way to avoid a window of eyes. calling yourself foolish for being tired, forgetting to sing. Beside each, you copy a small fix. Bread, friend, chair. Song, the chemist sends word. He wants to give old crates for the soup. Trade for silence. He asks, no, you say, trade for soup. He blushes. Soup then, he says. You shake his hand. Work makes better peace than words sometimes. A printer offers a discount for a pamphlet. Title, Nerves, Names, and What Helps. You write it as if you were speaking to one woman by a fire. You keep the advice small enough to try today. Water, bread, air, light, friend, no. You add lines for notes. What helped me this week? The header says. Women bring the pamphlet back with brave scribbles. I asked for the front chair. I ate before I fainted. I said no to Sunday extra work. I walked with my head up. The vicar tries again on Sunday. On health of the mind, he says. He speaks gently this time. He says companionship. He says rest, and does not mean obedience. He looks at the second pew and nods once, small and real. You nod back. Truce is a useful tool. A doctor visits the kitchen, not the one who wrote, a younger one. He asks careful questions. He stirs the pot without being told. He leaves. With a list you wrote. Ask if she has eaten. Ask if she is cold. Ask if she is allowed to read. Do not tell her to be small. Give her a chair by the window. He says, I can do that. You believe him. Winter eases. The bench remains. The jar still sings. Women still come. Not to be cured, to be seen. You write one more piece. Title, How We Helped. Ourselves. You list what you built. A bench, a rotor, a jar, a song on Wednesdays, a page that says, I am not broken. You end with a single line. If no one writes it down, they will say it never happened. So we wrote it. That night, the house is soft. You sit by the window with your notebook. You copy the line again for yourself. I am not broken. You do not underline it. You do not need to. You close the book. You let the quiet sit with you like a friend. Tomorrow you will listen again. Tomorrow you will write again. Not to prove you are well, but because you are alive. A white card sits on your table. Black letters. For ladies' nerves, it says, rest, tonic, fewer thoughts. You keep the card. You do not keep the rule. You paste the card in. Your notebook. Beside it, you write, I need justice, not less thinking. Nights are thin sometimes. Your heart runs without running. Your hands cool, then burn. You learn slow breath. You sip water before words. You take walks that end with clearer air. A bookseller shows a special shelf. Women's Health, the label says. Titles wag their fingers. Cures for the unwed. Clean floors, calm minds. How to quiet. A hysteric. You laugh once. The laugh has teeth. The man frowns. Will you buy one? No, you say. I will write a better one. At supper, you read the worst lines aloud. Edith wheezes with laughter. Hanley says, give me a broom for their heads. Miss Potter taps the table. Write an answer, she says. Short, true, useful, you write at night. Title, what? Tonics cannot fix. You make a list. Cold rooms, empty plates, locked doors, being told to hush. Then a second list. Fire, soup, keys, a chair up front, a friend. You send the essay to the Ladies' Review. The clerk does not look up. If accepted, we will write. You walk home under honest cold, they print it. A finch sits small and steady. Your paragraph lives beside a corset ad. The world loves a strange shelf. You will live there and answer it. Letters arrive in many hands. My husband calls. It nerves. It is hunger. I am a maid. I am punished for reading. I am a governess. They send bottles. I need rest. I am a nun. We need chairs more than syrups. You answer each one. You are not broken. You write. Your body is telling the truth about your life. Find one friend, claim. 1 hour, write again. The box under your bed grows heavy. The ribbon keeps its shape when the world shakes. Miss Tremaine reads a stack and sets her jaw. Pages are not enough, she says. We build rooms. The parlor becomes a workshop. A chalkboard shows 3 words: warmth, food, talk. Start here, you say. Not with bottles, with basics. You set hours for a listening bench. Tuesdays, Fridays, 2 chairs, by the fire. Tea in a real pot. A small basket for coins if someone wants to give. Hanley adds a rule. No advice without bread. Everyone nods. Women come. Some speak in a rush. Some stare at the coals and then nod. The talking is inside. You write no names. You keep no secrets that are not yours. You say sturdy things. You are tired, not cursed. You are crowded, not crazy. You need air, light, food, time, and one person who sees you. The chemist complains at market. You take my trade. Your tonics do not heat a room, you say. He has no quick answer. He brings old tins to the soup kitchen later. For storage, he says. Peace wears odd hats. A doctor writes in. The paper, he ties women with Latin rope. Hysteria, he says 3 times. Delicate constitution, he says twice. Proper quiet, he says, like a bell. You send a reply. Hunger is not Latin. Cold is not Latin. A locked door is not Latin. Open the door, then we can talk Greek. The paper prints it. A fishmonger laughs out loud. A laundress repeats your lines by the pump. Plain words travel fastest. You host a small talk at the school. Title on the slate. Nerves and truth. No fee, no fuss. The room fills with shawls and careful hands. You give 5 tools: water, bread, air, light. A friend, then one more. Say no when no is due. The sound inside the room changes. It hums like a hive. Women add their tools. A nap without apology. A walk with my head up. My chair in front. You write them on the slate. It looks like a recipe for a life that fits. Miss Potter brings her joke label. Mr. Finch's elixir for unmarried womanhood. Ingredients: a spine, a friend, a pen, boots. The room howls. Laughter is a medicine with no side effects. You write a second essay. Instead of silence, you tell the story of the bench. You list the tools again. You include 3 small lives with names changed. The editor prints it whole. The cheap. Ink smells like a win. More letters come. From wives. From widows. From girls who hide a page in a hymn book. From a brother who writes, I did not know. What should I do? You answer him. Bring tea. Bring time. Bring your good ears. Do. Not bring a tonic unless she asks. The house joins the work. Edith keeps a jar marked tea and talk. Coins ping like small bells. Hanley starts, hot water runs. She and two girls carry kettles to cold houses. Miss Tremaine writes the rota. No woman keeps the bench alone, she says. Miss Potter makes a quiet hour on Wednesdays. Scales rise and fall, breathing follows. Pushback arrives in tidy hats. You encourage complaint, says a gentleman. We encourage breath, you say. You are getting a name, says a cousin. Yes, you say mine. The headmistress worries for your time. You show her sums done right by girls who ate and rested. Her mouth tries not to smile. Good, she says. One night a letter breaks your calm. Hard story, no easy door. Your breath will not answer. You sit on the floor. The room tilts, then steadies. A knock. Miss Potter slips in. She sits with her back to yours. You breathe together. The world comes back in gentle pieces. We do not cure it all, she says. We make places to rest. That is enough. For tonight, you add a page to the index. Signs to notice. Skipping meals to save pride. Walking the long way to dodge watchers. Calling yourself foolish for being tired. Forgetting to sing. Across from each. You write a fix. Bread, friend, chair, song. The chemist sends word again. He offers crates for the soup store. Trade for a quiet week. No, you say trade for soup. He nods, readied. Work is a better treaty than talk. A printer offers a discount. You make a small pamphlet. Nerves, names, and what helps. You write to one woman at a fire. You keep the help small enough to try today. Water, bread, air, light, friend, no. You leave space for notes. What helped me this week? The line says, pamphlets return with brave scribbles. I ate before I fainted. I asked for the front chair. I said no to Sunday extra duties. I walked with my head up. The vicar tries again. Sermon, the health of minds. He says companionship. He says rest, and does not mean silence. He looks at the second pew. He nods once. You nod back. Truce is a tool too. A younger doctor visits the kitchen. He stirs without being asked. He listens without filling the air. You hand him a list. Ask if she has eaten. Ask if she is cold. Ask if she is allowed to read. Do not tell her to be small. Offer a chair by the window. He says, I can do that. For once, you believe a man the first time. Winter loosens its teeth. The bench stays. The jar still sings. Women still come. Not to be cured. To be seen, you write one. More peace. How we helped ourselves. You list the simple things you built. A bench. A hotter. A Jacques Wednesday tune. A page that says, I am not broken. You end with one line. If we do not write it down, they will say it. Never happened. Night is kind. You sit by the window with your book. You copy that line for yourself. I am not broken. No underline. No flourish. Enough. You close the cover. The house breathes. Somewhere a cart rattles. Somewhere a bell marks the hour. Tomorrow you will listen. Tomorrow you will write. Not to prove you are well. To show you are alive. To make a place where the next woman can sit and breathe. A letter arrives with a college seal. The paper is pale blue. The ink is steady and neat. Your essays are read here, it says. Please come and speak to our students. You hold the letter for a long time. Your hands feel warm. Your chest feels light. This is new. This is earned. Miss Tremaine reads the lines twice. You will go, she says. We will pack biscuits, says Edith. Hanley adds, and a scarf for drafty halls. Miss Potter smiles like a small bell. You write. A reply, yes, you say. Thank you for asking. You keep the words plain. You keep the feeling big. The train day comes. The platform smells like coal and rain. You carry a folio, a pencil, and calm. You sit by the window. The fields slide past like pages turning. You practice the first line in your head. I will. Speak plainly. You do not practice more. You will meet the room as it is. You will meet yourself as you are. The college is brick and ivy. Young women cross the yard in pairs. Their coats swing. Their eyes are bright. Their steps look like plans. A tutor greets you. Her handshake is firm. We are glad, she says. So am I, you answer. It feels true in your bones. The hall smells of books and wool. Chairs are set in a wide circle. No stage, no barrier. Good, you take a seat among them. Not above, among. You open your folio. You look up and meet their eyes. I will not give a grand speech. You say, I will give a small map. Heads tilt, pencils rise. The room quiets like a held breath. You speak of 5 things: a seat, a name, bread and water, a friend, the word no. You tell one story for each: the second pew, the reading circle, the listening bench, the coal rotor, the doctor who learned to ask about food. You keep the word short. You keep the truth sharp. You say, we are not broken. You say, we are not extra. You say, we are here. Questions come quick. Did you choose this life? Some of it, you say, some of it chose me. I chose how to carry it. Or, you ever afraid? Often, you say, courage is a habit, not a mood. Start small. Repeat. How do we help others? Begin with basics, you say. Warmth, food, time, respect. Do not speak for her. Sit. Beside her, the tutor watches with soft pride. The students write fast. Their faces are all flame and focus. You feel a good ache in your chest. This is a door opening. After, they gather close. Hands shake yours. Notes are pressed into your palm. You gave me a plan, one says. You gave me a word, another says. The librarian asks for your pamphlets. Spine out, she promises. Within reach, you nod. A shelf is a kind of vote. You leave a copy titled, Instead of Silence. You leave a copy titled, What Helps. You leave a copy titled, How We Helped Ourselves. The librarian stamps them with a soft thump. The sound is a reward you did not expect. Tea follows in a small room. China cups clink. The biscuits are too sweet. The talk is sweet in the right way. You feel seen without being handled. Evening train home. A letter waits at the boarding house. Margaret's hand again. How did it go? She asks. I am proud, she writes. You write back by lamplight. It went well, you say. They asked clear questions. They will go farther than we did. Come visit, you add. Margaret visits the next week. Her hair is silver now. Her eyes have not dimmed. You walk by the river. The air smells like wet stone and hope. I want a small house, she says. A house for working women who grow old. No shame, no labels. Only chairs by windows and a shelf of good books. You stop walking. You feel that line land. It lands like a key in your hand. Yes, you say. We can build that. The parlor becomes a planning room. A chalkboard shows for words. Warm room fund, end of winter coal, library box, small house. You list tasks under each: coins, donors, landlady visits, cheap paint, a second-hand kettle. Edith drafts a handbill. A home for working women, it says. Clean beds, warm tea, no pity. Hanley adds, rules, kindness, quiet after 10. No shame at the door. Miss Tremaine nods like a captain. You speak to the vicar. You keep your voice plain. We will not be a charity, you say. We will be a choice. He studies your face. I will ask the council, he answers. Ask yourself first, you say gently. You visit a landlord. On a narrow street. The house is small and dim. The rent is not kind. You point to the broken pane. You fix that. We take the lease, you say. He squints. He agrees. The women paint on a Saturday. Grey walls turn warm. A shelf goes up straight enough. Curtains appear from nowhere. The place smells of soap and plans. You bring chairs from the church storeroom. Borrowed, you tell the sexton. He pretends not to hear. He opens the door wider. He carries one himself. The sign goes over the door. Rosewood House, it says. The letters are hand-cut and brave. You stand in the lane and look. Your chest says, yes. The first night is simple. Tea, bread, quiet talk. A widow sleeps without fear. A seamstress warms her hands and cries once. No one looks away. You write down small rules. Eat first, then speak. If you can pay a penny, pay. If you cannot, take bread without a story. We share the shelf. We name each other right. Donations come in odd shapes. A baker's day-old loaves. A chemist's tins, clean this time. A tailor's bag of buttons. A tutor's stack of books. A child's single apple, shiny as pride. The council sends a notice. Licensed lodging for women, it grants. The vicar adds a line in the church sheet. Thanks to the ladies of Rosewood House for winter relief. It is not loud praise. It is public that matters. You keep a ledger on the hall table. Not numbers only. Names with permission. Needs met, joys found. Warm bath for Mrs. Bell. Job found for Anne at the bakery. Laughter in the kitchen at noon. A younger doctor stops by. He brings a small bag. He leaves with a bigger list. Food first, he repeats. Light by the chair, he adds. Read this poem, says Miss Potter, and he does. You add a page to your index. Title, what? A house can do. Turn fear into rest. Turn shame into soup. Turn a stranger into a neighbor. Turn a hallway into a choir. Margaret reads the page and smiles. Write the next thing, she says. Write the day we no longer need this house. I will, you say, but not today. You visit the college again in spring. The yard is green and loud with birds. You read from a new piece. Surplus is a market word, it says. A woman is not a crate. Count us by what we build. The tutor presses your hand. Our girls carry your pages, she says. They keep them in coat pockets. Let them crease, you say. Let them live. Back home, the circle hums. New faces. Old chairs. The borrow shelf grows. A second shelf appears, as if by spell. The chalk rule stays. Bring back a line. You loved you speak at the town hall. Only 10 minutes. 10 is enough. Budget coal by need, not name, you say. Post the list, you add. They do, at last. A critic writes a sour piece. Women out of place, he says. Women making noise, he says. You answer with a smaller note. Bread was served, you write. Beds were made. Names were spoken true. Noise that keeps a city. Warm is not a crime. The fishmonger slaps the counter again. That will do, he says. The laundress repeats your line at the pump. Noise that keeps a city warm, she says, and smiles. A girl knocks one night. Barely 20, eyes wide. I think I am one of you, she says. Then you are, you answer. She eats. She reads. She sleeps. In the morning, she laughs. You start a new book for yourself. Not the index. A plain ledger titled Unclaimed Testimonies. You copy stories with care and consent. First name, last initial, one true thing they want remembered. Likes, lilacs. Ran fast as a child. Saved her sister from a river. Can fix a latch without help. You bind the pages. With cord, the spine is crooked. The book is perfect. Nora stitches a proper cover later. She embroiders the title in uneven gold. The church hosts a small fair. Your table is quiet and bright. Pamphlets, a sign-up for coal runs, a plate of biscuits. People stop. People read. People give. You speak 5 sentences into the fair's noise. We are not surplus. We are not broken. We are the hands that keep mornings moving. We are the names on the boards now. We will not go back to margins. The vicar clears his throat. He says amen like a good neighbor. You nod like a good one back. Peace, again, with both edges showing. Winter returns, softer. The bench is used, but not crowded. The jar sings most days. The kettle never rests. No one is turned away. You feel your knees more now. Stairs tell the weather. Your hair is kind to pins and stubborn to combs. Your laugh is the same. Your spine is the same. You walk slower. You write truer. Your lines get shorter and stronger. Your no gets kinder and firmer. You waste no time on rooms that do not listen. Margaret asks if you are tired. Yes, you say, and happy. Both can live in one body. She nods. She knows. One afternoon you sit with the new girl at Rosewood House. She reads her first page aloud. Her voice wobbles. Her words do not. You sound like a door opening, you say. You sound like a house being built, she says back. You add a new page to the index. Title, After the Door. Teach one person. Make one bench. Leave one book behind. Tell the story true. The younger doctor sends a note. We ask about food first now. He says, we ask who listens to her. We keep a chair by the window. You put his note in the wooden box. Ribbon on, heart full. You visit the college a last time that year. You leave them a copy of Unclaimed Testimonies. For your archive, you say. The librarian's eyes shine. For our future, she answers. On the train home, you watch your town appear. Chimneys, roofs, the thin line of the river. You think I was small here. You think I got loud anyway. The boarding house lights are warm. The parlor is a soft riot of cups and pages. How was it? Edith asks. Good, you say. Bring the jam, says Hanley. Bring the song, says Miss Potter. Miss Tremaine holds the door for 2 new faces. That night, you write one line before sleep. I am not a guest in my own life. You underline not once. You blow out the lamp, the dark is kind. Tomorrow, you will open the house early. Tomorrow, you will teach a girl to write no without shaking. Tomorrow, you will hang a fresh towel by the window chair. Tomorrow, you will write again, still plain, still true, still yours. Morning comes soft and pale. Your knees complain. A little, your mind wakes fast. The kettle sings like a good friend. A letter waits by the door. Thick paper, sharp seal, city council crest. Public hearing on winter relief, it says. Please attend. Please speak. You read it twice. You feel the old quick fire. Miss Tremaine folds her arms. We will go as a row, she says. Edith claps once. Hanley checks the ledger. Miss Potter warms her hands for courage. You make a list for the hearing. Bread first. Coal by need, not name. Benches in waiting rooms. A chair by the window. Ask if she has eaten. Write names on boards. You add one more line. Do not call us surplus. You underline it once. You feel taller. The hall smells of dust and ink. Men shuffle papers. Hats crowd. The back wall. Women sit straight as candles. You stand when called. Your voice is calm. Your words are short. Start with heat, you say. Then speak of morals. A counselor tries Latin. You answer in bread. His pen slows. The room nods. Someone coughs, not unkindly. You finish with 5 gifts. Water, bread, air, light. A friend. Budget these first, you add. Applause does not explode. It ripples like warm water. You sit down. Your hands stop shaking. You breathe. After, a clerk slips you a note. Thank you, he has written. My mother would have liked this. You put the note in your box. Ribbon on. Heart steady. Back at Rosewood House, the door swings often. Winter still bites. The bench is busy. The kettle never rests. A girl arrives with a scuffed case. She is called Nora. She holds a notebook like a shield. I write, she says. Then come sit, you answer. Nora reads a page. It is clear and brave. It sounds like a first door opening. You give her another page to fill. She smiles like rain on a warm day. A widower's sister brings buttons. For mending, she says. For dignity, Miss Potter answers. The woman nods hard and wipes her eyes. Margaret sends a map, small. Red X's mark cheap rooms with lights. For women in new streets, she writes. You tack the map to the wall. It looks like hope that knows directions. The younger doctor returns. He has a new habit. He asks, who listens to you? He waits. For the answer, he writes it beside pulse and temperature. You shake his hand. He reddens, but does not hide. The library hosts a small exhibit. Pages by working women, the card says. Your pamphlets stand like soldiers. Your pen name sits small and steady. A girl whispers your line to a friend. I am not a footnote, I am the page. They grin like thieves of light. A sour pamphlet appears in town. Women out of place, it says. It scolds, it fumes, it offers nothing. You do not write a fight, you write a record. Title, What We Did This Week. 3 beds warmed, 2 jobs found. 1 girl learned to say no. 10 bowls served. Much laughter, 0 hysteria. You tack it to the parish board. People stop and read. Some nod, some blush. None can argue with soup. A parcel arrives from the college. Blue cloth book, gold letters, surplus, no more. Student essays, the foreword, thanks A. Finch. Your eyes sting. You sit down before you fall down. You write Margaret at once. The girls are louder, you say. The world is better for it. Come for spring, you add. The lilacs will forgive us our old doubts. Spring loosens the city. Windows open. Coal dust lifts. Street cats sleep in clean squares of sun. Rosewood House needs paint again. You choose warm cream. The ladies paint in old skirts. Laughter climbs the stairs like a song that knows the way. The council posts a new notice. Coal by need, not name. Your phrase stands there in tidy ink. Edith touches the board like a relic. We did this, she whispers. Together, you remind her. She nods and grins with all her teeth. A man at market tries a jab. Still making noise. Keeping the city warm, you say. He looks at his boots and buys your pamphlet. People are complicated. You allow it. You start a second ledger. Not for coins, for beginnings. First night slept through. First wage kept. First no said. First yes owned. The page fills fast. You add a ribbon to keep its place. Your body speaks more plainly now. Knees vote against damp stairs. Wrists argue with heavy kettles. You listen, you delegate. Nora runs the borrow shelf. Hanley teaches how to ask for the front chair. Miss Tremaine writes letters with the general's cadence. Miss Potter keeps song on Wednesdays. A cousin visits to check on you. She looks for regret like a lost glove. She does not find it. You seem content, she says. Busy, you answer. Chosen, you add. She blinks and considers that word. You put your affairs in order without sorrow. A simple will. Your books to the library, your index to Nora, your letters to Margaret with a note. Burn what hurts. Keep what helps. Share what saves. Evening at the boarding house smells of soap and print. The printing press clacks in the laundry room. Ink freckles the sink like stars. Nora binds a small book by hand. Uneven gold thread, perfect for truth. You write a new piece for the Ladies' Review. Title, Teach the Next. You keep it simple. If you open a door, hold it. If you take a seat, make space beside you. If you find a word, write it where others can see. The editor prints it on the front page. Your pen name. Looks like a small bell rung at the right time. A quiet scare visits in summer. A fever comes. You go pale and thin. The house carries you. Tea appears without asking. Soup arrives when the room tilts. Nora reads in a low voice. Margaret writes daily, careful, steady, brave. You rest, you heal. You do not hurry the healing. While you are still weak, the circle meets in your room. They read new pages. The air smells of orange peel and ink. You do not speak much. You listen the way a garden drinks at night. Their words climb the trellis. You smile and sleep. Autumn returns with clear light. Your step is slower, but sure. Your laugh is the same. Your work is softer, not smaller. You visit the college again. The yard is gold. The tutor meets you with warm hands. We started a shelf, she says. We named it a finch. You blush like a late apple. You say, make the shelf long, make the rules short. In town, the museum mounts a small case. Women who made rooms, the card says. A coal ledger, a kettle, a pamphlet, a chair by a window. People stop in front of the chair. They look as if it might be warm. A journalist asks for an interview. A profile, he says. You agree on one condition. No pity, you say. No miracle, you add. Only work. He nods. The article prints with your plain face and plainer words. We are not surplus, the headline quotes. We are the hands that keep mornings moving. The fishmonger slaps his counter. That will do, he says again. A woman you helped years ago returns with a child. This is Ruth, she says. We are warm, we are fed. Ruth hides behind her skirt, then peeks out. You kneel slow and smile. Welcome to the warm, you say. She grins like morning. The council invites you to sit on a winter board. Advisory, they say. You accept with 3 terms. We start with heat. We do not say surplus. We post the list. They agree. You bring a pencil and a calm face. You begin. Teaching a short class at the school. Title, How to Keep a Day. Lesson 1, Bread First. Lesson 2, Write 1 true sentence. Lesson 3, Take 1 seat where light falls. The girls laugh and take notes. They keep their notes longer than ribbons. One evening, you sit by the window and count changes. The second pew open to all. The bench with 2 chairs. The jar that sings. The shelf that grows. The house that holds. The word that belongs to you, no. The word that belongs to you, yes. The line that belongs to you, I am the page. A final letter comes from Margaret that year. We have done a thing, she writes. We made a small endowment with a baker and a doctor. It is not large, it is a seed. You press the paper to your lips. A seed is enough. You whisper, you write your own last pamphlet of the season. Title, What Remains. You keep it very plain. Not rings, not portraits, not parlor talk. These remain, a chair by a window, a page with your name, a friend who knows your laugh, a door that opens when you knock, a small house with warm tea and no shame. The printer sets the type, the letters bite the paper. You watch them ink your quiet truths. You feel peace rise like steam. Night gathers gentle. The parlor settles. The house breathes. You open your index one more time. New page. Pass it on. You write 4 lines. Teach 1. Trust 2. Write 3. Rest. Then begin again. You close the book. You turn down the lamp. The city hums like a big, tired animal. You are not afraid of its size. You are part of its breath. Before sleep, 1 last line. I am not a guest here. You underline not once. You smile in the dark. Tomorrow, you will open the door early. Tomorrow, Nora will run the shelf. Tomorrow, a stranger will sit and become less of one. Tomorrow, you will write again, still simple, still true, still yours. Autumn leans on the windowsill. Light is thin and kind. The kettle sings. Your notebook waits. You open to a fresh page. The paper smells like hope. You write the date. You write 2 words. Begin again. The house wakes slow. Floorboards answer with soft creaks. Nora's step is light. Miss Tremaine's cough is crisp. Hanley hums a steady note. Miss Potter warms her hands for song. You check the jar. Coins wink like small stars. Tea and talk, the label says. It still sings most days. The bench by the fire is empty now. Not for long. It never stays empty for long. 2 chairs wait like open hands. A letter comes with a careful seal, blue stamp, plain words. Rosewood House is renewed, it says. One more year, one more winter held. You read it aloud in the kitchen. Edith claps the spoon against the pot. Nora cheers with her whole face. Hanley taps the ledger twice. Miss Tremaine nods like a captain. Miss Potter laughs, bright as a bell. You cross one worry off your list. You leave room for new ones. Lists do not fear being refilled. Neither do you. A widow brings a small plant. For the windowsill, she says. Green leaves, like little flags. It will like the light here. It does. A new girl arrives at dusk. Damp coat, tired eyes. I heard there is a chair here. She says, there is, you say, and bread. She sits, she eats, she breathes easier. You teach her one sentence. I am not a burden. She says it soft. She says it again, stronger. She smiles like someone opening a locked box. Margaret visits with a scarf and a story. Her hair is fully silver now. Her voice is still clear. You walk by the river. The air smells of wet stone and bread. We built a good thing, she says. We did, you answer. You both look at the water. You both feel the same quiet pride. At the market, the fishmonger waves a paper. Your line is in the headline again. He grins. Women keep mornings moving. So do you, you answer. He blushes and weighs a fair pound for once. The younger doctor stops by the bench. He asks his new first question. Who listens to you? The woman on the chair says, they do. She points at you, at Nora, at the kettle. He nods and writes it down like medicine. The librarian sends a note. Your shelf is full, she says. We are making a second. Call it Rosewood, you suggest. She writes back, done. You start a small charter, 4 lines for the house. Kindness first, food before talk. No shame at the door. Pass it on. You pin it above the bench. Women. Touch the paper like a prayer. A small trouble comes in winter. The landlord raises the rent. Times are hard, he says. On whom, you ask? He looks at his boots. He shrugs in a tired way. You do not fight alone. The council clerk brings papers. The vicar brings a word. The baker brings loaves. The doctor brings numbers. The women bring names. The market brings gossip that works like a lever. You ask for a public meeting. You speak for 10 minutes. 10 is enough. Count what this house saves, you say. Fires smaller, streets quieter, work done, lives kept. Keep the rent kind. The hall is still. A hand goes up, the landlord's wife. We will not raise it this year, she says. The room breathes again. You say, thank you. You mean it. A quiet winter follows. Fires steady. Soup honest. Letters many. Laughter. Even more, you feel your body's news. Knees count stairs. Wrists count kettles. Sleep comes sooner. Morning still brings work and joy. You begin a new book, not an index, not a ledger, a book of beginnings. First wage kept, first no, said, first yes owned, first day not afraid. The list grows fast. You add a ribbon to keep the place. Nora starts a Thursday class. Title, How to Hold Your Own Day. She teaches bread first. She teaches one true line. She teaches how to ask for the front chair without shaking. The girls write and grin. They keep their notes in pockets like charms. The museum adds another case. Women who built rooms. The card says, A kettle, a ledger, a chalk slate with your 5 tools: water, bread, air, light. Friend, people stand longer at the slate than at the statues. You visit the college one. Last time this year, the tutor shakes your hands with both of hers. We used your charter in the dorm, she says. It works on doors of all sizes. You laugh and agree. Truth does not mind new rooms. You write a piece called After We Are Gone. You keep it short. Please keep the bench. Please keep the jar. Please keep the shelf. Please keep saying our names. The editor prints it plain. The page looks like a will for hope. A cousin visits. She scans your face for regret. She finds none. You never married, she says softly. I married a city, you answer. She laughs, then nods like she has learned something new. One evening the room blurs. A quick fever, a slow ebb. The house does what the house does. Tea appears. Soup warms your hands. Song fills the hall. Nora reads a page in a low voice. Margaret writes steady notes. You rest. You heal in days, not hours. You do not hurry. While you are quiet, the circle meets in your room. Miss Potter plays a soft tune. Hanley makes the jokes. Edith brings the news. Miss Tremaine shuffles the rota-like cards. You listen like a garden at night. Words climb, the room blooms. Spring comes back with clean rain. The plant on the sill has doubled. So has the borrow shelf. The jar still sings. The bench still holds. The house still breathes. You make one more list for yourself. What remains if I rest more? You write answers you trust. The bench, the jar, the shelf, the class, the song, the girls, the city that knows our names. The list is longer than your worry. A girl from years ago arrives with a child. We are well, she says. We are warm, she adds. The child hides, then peeks. You kneel slow. Welcome to the warm, you say again. It never gets old. The council asks you to advise one more winter. You accept with your 3 terms. Heat first. Names. On boards. No surplus talk. They agree in tidy ink. It feels like a good use of breath. You start giving away small things. A pen to Nora. A scarf to Edith. A cup to Hanley. A book to Miss Potter. A page from your index to Margaret. Burn what hurts. Your note says, keep what helps. Share what saves. You write your last pamphlet for the year. Title, Sovereign. 1 page. Many lives. Not surplus. Not spare. Sovereign, it says. A woman who owns her hours. A house that owns its welcome. A city that owns its duty. The printer sets the type. The letters bite and bless the paper. The church fair returns. Your table sits by the window for light. Pamphlets neat, biscuits warm. A small sign. Take what helps. Leave what you can. People come in twos. People leave in peace. Night is dear to you now. You choose sleep like a gift you give yourself. Before the lamp goes down, you open. Your book, the page is clean. Your hand is steady. You write 4 lines. Teach 1. Trust 2. Write 3. Rest, then begin again. You think of the girl you were, waiting at windows, counting dancers, shrinking to fit chairs too small. You whisper to her across years. We did it, you say. We got loud in a kind way. We made rooms. We were never spare. You think of the women you love. Miss Tremaine with her captain's stare. Hanley with her furnace laugh. Miss Potter with music in her bones. Edith with ink on her fingers, Nora with gold thread on book spines, Margaret with a map and a steady pen. You say their names like soft bells. The room feels full and safe. A soft rain begins. The roof answers with a low hush. The city breathes. You match it breath for breath. You set your pencil down. You touch the plant on the sill. You smooth the charter on the wall. You look at the bench. 2 chairs. An open space. A welcome that does not need words. You blow out the lamp. The dark is kind and warm. You rest without fear. The house keeps watch. The city keeps turning. The work keeps going in steady. Hands, before sleep, one last line becomes clear. It lands in your chest like a soft bell. I am not surplus, you think. I am the story. The words settle like a blanket. You smile where no one can see. You breathe deep. You sleep well. And somewhere, in many rooms, a woman opens a door you built and sits down in a chair you saved and says in a voice that does not shake, I am here. Autumn leans on the windowsill. Light is thin and kind. The kettle sings. Your notebook waits. You open to a fresh page. The paper smells like hope. You write the date. You write 2 words. Begin again. The house wakes slow. Floorboards answer with soft creaks. Nora's step is light. Miss Tremaine's cough is crisp. Hanley hums a steady note. Miss Potter warms her hands for song. You check the jar. Coins wink like small stars. Tea and talk, the label says. It still sings most days. The bench by the fire is empty now. Not for long. It never stays empty for long. 2 chairs wait like open hands. A letter comes with a careful seal. Blue stamp, plain words. Rosewood House is renewed, it says. 1 more year, 1 more winter held. You read it aloud in the kitchen. Edith claps the spoon against the pot. Nora cheers with her whole face. Hanley taps the ledger twice. Miss Tremaine nods like a captain. Miss Potter laughs, bright as a bell. You cross 1 worry off your list. You leave room for new ones. Lists do not fear being refilled. Neither do you. A widow brings a small plant. For the windowsill, she says. Green leaves like little flags. It will like the light here, it does. A new girl arrives at dusk, damp coat, tired eyes. I heard there is a chair here. She says, there is, you say, and bread. She sits, she eats, she breathes easier. You teach her 1 sentence. I am not a burden. She says, it's soft. She says it again, stronger. She smiles like someone opening a locked box. Margaret visits with a scarf and a story. Her hair is fully silver now. Her voice is still clear. You walk by the river. The air smells of wet stone and bread. We built a good thing, she says. We did, you answer. You both look at the water. You both feel the same quiet pride. At the market, the fishmonger waves a paper. Your line is in the headline again. He grins. Women keep mornings moving. So do you answer. He blushes and weighs a fair pound for once. The younger doctor stops by the bench. He asks his new first question. Who listens to you? The woman on the chair says, they do. She points at you, at Nora, at the kettle. He nods and writes it down like medicine. The librarian sends a note. Your shelf is full, she says. We are making a second. Call it Rosewood, you suggest. She writes back, done. You start a small charter, 4 lines for the house. Kindness first, food before talk. No shame at the door. Pass it on, you pin it above the bench. Women, touch the paper like a prayer. A small trouble comes in winter. The landlord raises the rent. Times are hard, he says. On whom, you ask? He looks at his boots. He shrugs in a tired way. You do not fight alone. The council clerk brings papers. The vicar brings a word. The baker brings loaves. The doctor brings numbers. The women bring names. The market brings gossip that works like a lever. You ask for a public meeting. You speak for 10 minutes. 10 is enough. Count what this house saves, you say. Fires smaller, streets quieter. Work done, lives kept. Keep the rent kind. The hall is still. A hand goes up. The landlord's wife. We will not raise it this year, she says. The room breathes again. You say, thank you. You mean it. A quiet winter follows. Fires steady. Soup honest. Letters many. Laughter. Even more. You feel your body's news. Knees count stairs. Wrists count kettles. Sleep comes sooner. Morning still brings work and joy. You begin a new book. Not an index. Not a ledger. A book of beginnings. First wage kept. First no said. First yes owned. First day not afraid. The list grows fast. You add a ribbon to keep the place. Nora starts a Thursday class. Title, How to Hold Your Own Day. She teaches bread first. She teaches one true line. She teaches how to ask for the front chair without shaking. The girls write and grin. They keep their notes in pockets like charms. The museum adds another case. Women who built rooms. The card says, a kettle, a ledger, a chalk slate with your 5 tools. Water, bread, air, light. Friend, people stand longer at the slate than at the statues. You visit the college one. Last time this year. The tutor shakes your hands with both of hers. We used your charter in the dorm, she says. It works on doors of all sizes. You laugh and agree. Truth does not mind new rooms. You write a piece called After We Are Gone. You keep it short. Please keep the bench. Please keep the jar. Please keep the shelf. Please keep saying our names. The editor prints it plain. The page looks like a will for hope. A cousin visits. She scans your face for regret. She finds none. You never married, she says softly. I married a city, you answer. She laughs, then nods like she has learned something. New. One evening the room blurs. A quick fever, a slow ebb. The house does what the house does. Tea appears. Soup warms your hands. Song fills the hall. Nora reads a page in a low voice. Margaret writes steady notes. You rest. You heal in days, not hours. You do not hurry. While you are quiet, the circle meets in your room. Miss Potter plays a soft tune. Hanley makes the jokes. Edith brings the news. Miss Tremaine shuffles the rota-like cards. You listen like a garden at night. Words climb, the room blooms. Spring comes back with clean rain. The plant on the sill has doubled. So has the borrow shelf. The jar still sings. The bench still holds. The house still breathes. You make one more list for yourself. What remains if I rest more? You write answers you trust. The bench, the jar, the shelf, the class, the song, the girls, the city that knows our names. The list is longer than your worry. A girl from years ago arrives with a child. We are well, she says. We are warm, she adds. The child hides, then peeks. You kneel slow. Welcome to the warm. You say again, it never gets old. The council asks you to advise one more winter. You accept with your 3 terms. Heat first, names. On boards. No surplus talk. They agree in tidy ink. It feels like a good use of breath. You start giving away small things. A pen to Nora, a scarf to Edith, a cup to Hanley, a book to Miss Potter, a page from your index to Margaret. Burn what hurts. Your note says, keep what helps, share what saves. You write your last pamphlet for the year. Title, Sovereign. 1 page, many lives. Not surplus, not spare. Sovereign, it says. A woman who owns her hours. A house that owns its welcome. A city that owns its duty. The printer sets the type. The letters bite and bless the paper. The church fair returns. Your table sits by the window for light. Pamphlets neat, biscuits warm. A small sign, take what helps, leave what you can. People come in twos. People leave in peace. Night is dear to you now. You choose sleep like a gift you give yourself. Before the lamp goes down, you open. Your book, the page is clean. Your hand is steady. You write 4 lines. Teach 1, trust 2, write 3, rest, then begin again. You think of the girl you were, waiting at windows, counting dancers, shrinking to fit chairs. Too small. You whisper to her across years. We did it, you say. We got loud in a kind way. We made rooms. We were never spare. You think of the women you love. Miss Tremaine with her captain's stare. Hanley with her furnace laugh. Miss Potter with music. In her bones, Edith with ink on her fingers. Nora with gold thread on book spines. Margaret with a map and a steady pen. You say their names like soft bells. The room feels full and safe. A soft rain begins. The roof answers with a low hush. The city breathes. You match it breath for breath. You set your pencil down. You touch the plant on the sill. You smooth the charter on the wall. You look at the bench. 2 chairs. An open space. A welcome that does not need words. You blow out the lamp. The dark is kind and warm. You rest without fear. The house keeps watch. The city keeps turning. The work keeps going in steady hands. Before sleep, 1 last line becomes clear. It lands in your chest like a soft bell. I am not surplus, you think. I am the story. The words settle like a blanket. You smile when no one can see. You breathe deep. You sleep well. And somewhere, in many rooms, a woman opens a door you built and sits down in a chair you saved and says, in a voice that does not shake, I am here. Morning is quiet and kind. The window holds a pale sky. The kettle begins to sing. Your notebook waits without hurry. You open to a fresh page. You write the date in small letters. You write 2 words, begin again. The words feel warm in your hand. The house wakes in soft steps. Nora's light foot crosses the hall. Miss Tremaine coughs once, like a bell. Hanley hums a tune that steadies tea. Miss Potter warms her fingers for song. You check the jar on the shelf. Coins wink like tiny stars. The label still reads, tea and talk. It still sings most days. The bench by the fire is empty. It will not be empty for long, too. Chairs wait like open hands. The rug remembers many shoes. A letter lies under the door. Blue stamp, plain seal. Rosewood House is renewed, it says. One more year, one more winter held. You read it out loud, smiling. Edith taps the spoon like applause. Nora cheers with her whole face. Hanley nods and opens the ledger. Miss Tremaine says, "Good. We plan." Miss Potter laughs, bright as glass. You cross one worry off your list. You leave space for new ones. Lists are like lungs, they refill. You breathe and refill with them. A widow brings a small plant. Soft leaves lift like green flags. For the windowsill, she whispers. It likes light and kind voices. You set it where morning lands. A new girl arrives at dusk. Her coat is damp from fog. Her eyes are tired and brave. "I heard you have a chair," she says. "We have to," you answer gently. "And bread and hot water." She sits with her whole weight. You pour tea that smells like hope. She eats, then breathes easier. The room grows larger around her. You teach one sentence for tonight. "I am not a burden," she says. First quiet, then firm, then sure. She smiles like a lock releasing. Margaret visits with a wool scarf. Her hair is a silver river now. Her eyes still cut through fog. You walk slow by the river wall. The air tastes of stone and bread. "We built a good thing," she says. "We did," you answer, steady. You both watch the water turn. Pride waits between you, patient, warm. The fishmonger waves a paper at market. Your line is a headline again. "Women keep mornings moving," he grins. "So do you," you tell him simply. He blushes and weighs fair measure. The younger doctor stops by the bench. He uses his new first question. "Who listens to you?" he asks. The woman points. "At you, at Nora, at tea." He writes the answer like true medicine. The librarian sends a note back. "Your shelf is full," she writes. "We are making a second shelf. Call it Rosewood," you suggest. She writes, "Done. Bring." More pages. You write a short charter for doors. For lines clear as bread. Kindness first, food before talk. No shame at the door. Pass it on. You pin it above the bench. Women touch the paper like prayer. A new trouble comes in winter. The landlord wants to raise rent. "Times are hard," he mutters softly. On whom you ask, calm. He looks down at his boots. He sighs and says very little. You do not stand alone this time. The council clerk brings the papers. The vicar brings one good word. The baker brings 2 warm loaves. The doctor brings numbers and names. The women bring their signatures, many. The market brings gossip that moves stones. You ask for a public meeting. You speak for 10 quiet minutes. 10 minutes can be a bridge. Count what this house saves, you say. Smaller fires, calmer streets, steadier work, lives kept, children warm, nights quiet. Keep the rent kind, you finish. The hall is still for a breath. A hand rises from the back. Row, the landlord's wife stands and speaks. We will not raise it this year. The room breathes again together. Thank you, you say, and mean it. Winter settles like a heavy shawl. The bench is busy and brave. The kettle never learns to rest. Letters arrive, many hands, many hearts. Laughter still survives between bowls. Your body speaks more. Plainly now, knees count every stair in 2s. Wrists weigh the kettle before lifting. Sleep comes sooner, stays kinder. Morning still brings work and joy. You begin a new thin book. Not index, not ledger, beginnings. First wage kept, without permission asked. First no said without shaking hands. First yes owned with a full chest. First day not afraid of doors. The list grows like ivy in spring. You tie a ribbon to keep place. Nora starts a Thursday evening class. Title is simple, hold your day. She teaches bread first, then breath. She teaches one true sentence. Daily, she teaches how to ask front chairs. Girls grin and keep notes in pockets. The museum builds a second case. Women who built rooms. The card says, a kettle, a ledger, a chalk slate. Water, bread, air, light, friend. People linger longer than at statues. They lean in to read simple rules. The college sends a bundle by train. Student pages bound in blue cloth. Gold letters say surplus no more. The forward thanks say Finch, softly. You sit down before you fall down. You press the book to your heart. You write a piece called After. Please keep the bench, you write. Please keep the jar and shelf. Please keep saying our names. The editor prints it plain and clear. The page looks like a will for hope. A cousin arrives and looks around. She searches your face for regret. She finds work instead and peace. You never married, she says quietly. I married a city, you answer. She laughs, then nods, then understands. One evening, the room goes soft. A small fever visits, then leaves. The house does what houses do. Tea appears without, asking for it. Soup warms your stubborn hands. Song drifts from the hall like wool. Nora reads long pages in low voice. Margaret writes steady notes by lamp. You rest as you once taught others. You heal in days and not hours. You do not hurry, you trust time. While you are quiet, the circle gathers. They meet beside your open door. Miss Potter plays a soft scale. Hanley makes a joke that saves breath. Edith brings market news and names. Miss Tremaine sorts the rota like cards. You listen the way gardens drink rain. Their words climb the trellis of night. Spring returns with clean rain. The plant on the sill has doubled. The borrow shelf has doubled too. The jar still sings almost daily. The bench still holds without pride. The house still breathes. Like a friend, you make one more private list. What remains if I rest more? The answers come simple and bright. The bench, the jar, the shelf, the class, the song, the names, the girls, the city. The list is longer than your worry. You let your shoulders drop in thanks. A woman returns with a small child. We are warm, she says, smiling. We are well, she adds softly. The child hides, then peeks and giggles. You kneel slow and greet the morning. Welcome to the warm, you tell them. The council asks for winter advice. You accept, with 3 steady terms. Heat first, names posted, no surplus talk. They agree in tidy ink and bows. It is a good use of breath. You begin giving away small things. A pen with your finger's memory. A scarf that knows to winters. A cup that has heard many stories. A book with margins full of courage. A page from your index for Margaret. Your note says, burn what hurts. Keep what helps. Share what saves. You write one last paper this year. Title is one word, sovereign. Not surplus, not spare sovereign, it says. A woman who owns her hours. A house that owns its welcome. A city that owns its duty. The printer sets firm letters in line. The type bites and blesses the paper. The church fair returns to warm rooms. Your table sits by a wide window, pamphlets neat, biscuits warm, tea brave. A sign reads, "Take what helps today. Leave what you can, when you can." People come in twos and leave lighter. Night grows dear to you now. You choose sleep like a daily gift. Before the lamp goes down, you write 4 lines you love and trust. Teach 1, trust 2, write 3. Rest, then begin again. You finish. You think of the girl you were, waiting at windows, counting dancers, shrinking. You whisper across years without fear. "We did it," you tell her softly. "We got loud in a kind way. We made rooms where none were given. We were never spare. Not once." You think of women you love now. Miss Tremaine with her captain's stare. Hanley with her furnace laugh. Miss Potter with music in her bones. Edith with ink on both hands. Nora with gold thread on book spines. Margaret with a map and a pen. You say their names like small bells. The room fills and feels safe again. A small rain begins over roofs. The city answers with a low hush. You match it, breath for breath. The house keeps watch like a friend. Tomorrow's list is already simple. Open early, check coal, warm water, hold the door, teach the sentence. I am not a burden. Again, share the bench, share the bread. Write 1 true line before sleep. You take the keys from the hook. You put them in Nora's good hand. You open first tomorrow, you say. I will follow, slower, smiling. Her eyes shine like morning windows. I won't let the kettle rest, she says. You smooth the charter on the wall. You straighten the plant on the sill. You touch the chair near the window. 2 chairs, always 2, always enough. You blow out the lamp and listen. The dark is kind and warm again. You rest without any fear now. Work continues in steady hands. The city keeps turning and breathing. Before sleep, 1 last line lands. It lands softly, like a bell on cloth. I am not surplus, you think once more.